Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Thomas van der Zander, Canna Bear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, didn't mean to press that button, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Ahmed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Good to hear you, Georgie.
Jordan. What's that, Neil?
Yeah, good to be around.
So what do we say about these meteorites here? What do you think about with my son with the cobalt? It's not a substance found on Earth. So he said it can only be coming from outer space.
You know what I say? I say let him have it. Let him have it all. Let him have it as much as he wants.
That's what I said. But I said, you're going against. So you're telling me you're going against natural law. Okay, have it your way. There's a ISS in the sky with people in it, and there's rocks orbiting, and there's soil in the sky. You guys got it. And that was it.
So
I left it at that.
How do we Cobalt is a natural element.
Yeah, he claims it can't be found on Earth.
It's found over many.
Kryptonite.
Yeah, it's all over.
Kryptonite.
My youngest daughter, right, came in while I was making the show, and the eldest is out swimming with my wife, with her mother, and the youngest comes in and she's asking me about this towel. I can't figure out what she's asking me, and she's being a little bit shady, but not enough to rise my suspicions. Right? It turns out that my wife has ordered this advent calendar that's pretty obscure, hence we're buying it at a really weird part of the season because she just happened to have found it. And it's come, she's put it under a towel so it's hidden. And, you know, she's obviously found it and doesn't know what to do with herself because she's found something that's obviously secret. Anyway, after the fact, this gets discussed, the fact that we've bought an advent calendar. And say something like, oh, well, you know, now you've been all sneaky about it. You know, Santa's not going to bring it to you. And she says, you said Santa wasn't real. I said, I did not say that. She went, well, anyway, I know Santa is real. I said, okay, Clover, how do you know Santa's real? She says, I know Santa's real because we put carrots out for the reindeer, and the carrots, they get eaten. Therefore, Santa's real. And I looked at my elder daughter and said, my God, you've just formulated a perfect affirming the consequent fallacy for Santa. If Santa's real, the carrots will get eaten. The carrots get eaten. Therefore, Santa's real. That's literally how she formulated it to me. 5.
Nice.
You can hear me talking about you, can you, Clover? Yeah, well, you did formulate a fallacy. Just take it as it is, man. Life's hard. It's not nice. You just formulated a fallacy. You can hear my youngest daughter arguing with me. They're still in the kitchen.
Yeah, but it's nice that she's able to formulate it.
Nice that she can form a fallacy. Not really, Neil.
Yes, because then she could recognize one.
No. No. Breaking down the fallacy was too much for it. My elder daughter could understand the fallacy when I explained it to her, but my younger daughter probably couldn't. You understand and affirming the consequent fallacy, do you? You understand that?
Yeah.
If P, then Q, Q therefore P.
And then why were the presents there?
Why were the presents there?
Yeah.
Because Mummy went and bought them off season. Right, anyway, this is me working now, so shouldn't really be in here.
Right, come on, guys.
Go on, out you go. Right, get them out.
Right, come on, guys.
Don't
But
be accused
you
of
could
eating them.
you could just go on and let your son believe cobalt's from outer space if you want to, Neil. I got some cobalt wrenches. They're space wrenches.
No, I took the other approach. I just let them have it. I continued eating my dinner and ignored them. But you just can't give me answers, so you have no explanation for anything.
Is the
I said, if
cobalt
I can't
like
validate it, how can I have an explanation? I
is the
said, your town
cobalt like
idiot could have an
moon rock?
explanation.
Is the cobalt like the moon rock then?
No, cobalt's just cobalt. They use it in high-end batteries, don't they?
Nathan, it came from space. Don't you know that?
It had to.
Oh, my wife just informed me there was 2 other sightings of meteors in Ecuador, and she's trying to remember the other place. But you know, these things are happening, and we have to have answers for these things.
Well, surely there's a
Well,
meteor struck somewhere in New York City.
there used to be a
Surely.
video on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the
Just
main one we're
quickly,
talking about. And then they brought up the Russian one to me. Oh, look at this. There's a video of it. I
So
said,
what would you
okay.
call it?
There's also a video of people walking on the moon.
Yeah, yeah. What would you call it, though? You call it a phenomena?
right? And let me talk a little briefly about the phenomena. There used to be like a video on YouTube. It probably still is. It's just like Russian webcams, right, on their dash while they're driving, and it's a compilation of all these this phenomena. And when you look at it, it's like really interesting because you see it like it's like a big ball and coming, and it just like vanishes just like before your eyes. It just disintegrates into nothing. And it also sounds like crackly, like it's like electricity or something like that. So maybe you just want to find those videos, Neil, and just go, look, it's not conclusive to what you're saying.
No, you know what he threw at me? He said, well, you don't think there's rocks falling from the sky? What about Sodom and Gomorrah? You believe the Bible, right?
So now you're explaining this alleged phenomena.
I'm not. He just brought up Sodom and Gomorrah to me. I said, well, it said that God rained down fire from the sky.
Yeah, you're obviously
You're
not on the
making
same
them rocks.
wavelength or vibe that I am. What do you do after you observe phenomena, Neil, if you want to explain why it happened?
Well, you can put it through the scientific method. And if you can't vary and manipulate what you think the cause is, then you can't validate it scientifically.
Right. Step
You
one.
need a horizontal plane for your down and up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him that. Nathan, it's like they want to go right past the fact when you explain to them, like Georgie just said, the up and down. They want to go right past that and they totally ignore it and continue to talk about this phenomena that supposedly happened in New York, Ecuador, or wherever the other place is. Like if you can't give them an answer, they don't want to hear anything.
I mean, an answer. I mean, a just so story.
Right, like I don't know.
Oh,
I can't validate
farted.
it.
That's my just so story. Who cares? I need to vary and manipulate that which I assume is causing that effect to see if it is the effect induced by my causal influencer, aka an experiment. That's what you use to empirically validate the cause of that effect. Now, half the time we go, let's argue about whether or not there's an effect. There might be. Okay? What are you going to prove to me if we do validate that it is an effect? Well, then I'll start asking the people who want to know what caused it to put into effect the scientific method. If your ambition is to find out what caused that effect, then do it. Oh, sorry, I should accept that it's sky rocks. Oh, really? Okay. Why should I accept that? Show me one. They all burnt up? Oh, right, I see. Some went into the water? Oh, right, I see. Okay. So it doesn't sound like your baseless assertion, just so story is going to go very far. I'm not even seeing the phenomena. I'd need to see the phenomena. Footage of the phenomena. Well, we know that's open to manipulation now, don't we? Not a very high standard that I'm going to accept to start this investigation process. Yeah, I'm going to need to observe that as a natural phenomenon. Watching a guy carry out his day-to-day routine in a taxi, performing perfect signalling, checking for pedestrians and humming along to the radio, while apparently an end-of-the-world event's going on in his webcam, I just don't buy it. You know, I would expect at least a, look at that. That could be the death of all mankind in my windscreen. No reaction. You expect me to buy that? No, I'm not buying that. I've never seen a rock fall from the sky. I've seen video footage and Hollywood movies claiming that that's the case. I have, however, seen shooting stars, if you want to call them that, in very low light conditions. There's all sorts of stuff whizzing around the sky. Now, if you want to claim it comes into our atmosphere, straight away you've got a problem. Because your just so story needs sphere-shaped air with a rock travelling through it from an area of volume that gas isn't filling. It all falls apart immediately, so I don't care what your just so story is. I'm yet to see this phenomena. Showing me on TV, yeah, I can show you the Hulk. What do you want? Oh, that's manipulated with CGI? Oh, I'll just accept on faith that this isn't then, shall I? No, I won't. I don't see rocks falling from the sky. The closest I've ever come to seeing it is hail. There's a perfectly acceptable explanation for that. If you want me to accept that kryptonite's coming from the sky, but we just don't get to see it burnt up upon re-entry of the atmosphere from the sky back. No. It's just garbage. I'm not interested. Sorry.
That's basically the stance I took.
But they're going to need a horizontal plane to describe this object traversing the sky, and the linear speed, and the elevation above the ground. Yeah, they're going to describe this event. They're going to need a flat plane.
No, what I said to them is, so you're telling me that we should be worried about a ELE event, ELLE, or ELE, right? Extinction level event, like on that show Deep Impact. So I'm supposed to be afraid that an asteroid's going to come, or a meteorite, the same that wiped out the dinosaur? Okay, fine.
Yeah, you're way out of date. You know, all the numpties in general society are worried about global warming or climate change. What they should really be worrying about is the big frost coming. Worry about the cooling for 10 years. And then we'll tell you that it's actually the heating that we will be worried about. But for now, I think there should be a distinct turn in people's concerns. Don't worry about it heating up. Worry about it cooling down. Death may be just round the corner.
No, it's
Or
not even that anymore. Nathan,
Neil,
they
there's
call
more
it
to be
global
scared of here.
emergency.
More to be scared of. That's the thin end of the wedge. Yeah? Are you even slightly concerned about the alien invasion? Because I am. There's extinction level events that are being claimed that could come from potentially glancing blows of rocks. There's the great cool that'll come if that doesn't come and wipe us out. And last but by no means least, there are aliens with superpowers, like the Hulk and Superman, that could potentially come. And do you think they're going to be friendly just because Superman's friendly? Not necessarily. There's a lot to be concerned about, Neil. A lot.
No,
If you think that's bad,
global,
wait
it's
until
global emergency now. It's not global warming. Global emergency.
Just have to subtle change in your ideas. Global cooling. Don't need to worry about global warming. That's very yesterday. Cooling.
Yeah, but wait until the Earth stops spinning. Then you'll have a big problem.
Oh,
Very
that's
big
right.
problem. Yes. Could stop spinning. It's going to cool down. There's going to be an alien invasion. I mean, you've got a lot to concern yourself with, Neil.
I think my tactic last night was perfect because I left them. They were still going at the table when I left. I went into the bedroom and I heard them. Well, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and he thinks this and this flat earth stuff is so stupid. And I'm just sitting in my room with a big smile on my face.
Why? Why do you like triggering people?
I didn't. They started with me. I just couldn't give them an answer, so they got upset.
You weren't their new guru.
I wouldn't give them an answer because, hey, Nathan, how am I going to give them an answer for something that I haven't seen? It hasn't been validated by anybody. So how am I supposed to give them an answer to it? I can't. Just like I told them, I don't know what the sky is. I don't know what's up there. I know what they tell us, the sun, the moon, the stars, but I don't know what they are, and neither do you, neither does anybody else.
You even call that so-called fireball like a natural phenomena, really? No, it's not like the tides, is it, or a reoccurring, something happening in nature in a cycle type of thing. Is it? So would you call it a natural phenomenon or just a freaky thing? That's all.
If there's things coming from the sky that are on fire, I would consider that a natural phenomenon. But I haven't seen any.
Well, it's not.
Come back to G+1 deck, you're breaking up.
But don't they tell us that they can track these so-called objects that are in the sky? Can actually predict the movements of it. So how come we have something happening no one is expecting?
Wait, did you say they can track them?
I guess that's what they claim, isn't it?
How would they go about tracking them?
Yeah, good question. Don't they claim it's cyclical?
But they were talking about a measurement to how far, like certain asteroids miss the Earth. I wonder if they're going to need a flat Earth for that to take their measurements.
Yeah, that's when Neil deGrasse Tyson comes in and he says that there will be an event in the future. And he even tells you the date, that this large meteorite is going to pass very close to the Earth. I mean, you should be careful about that.
The only event that's going to be it's an astronomical event is when Jesus splits the sky.
They got a couple more than that, Neil.
Then every
Got that.
eye, that used to drive me crazy too, because I'd say, wait a second, if everybody's going to see him, how is this working on a globe? This is years ago, because it says every eye shall see him. And then the internet came out, and you had your pastors at the pulpit saying, see, now this is now confirmed, because now with the internet and everybody could see, and everybody will be watching this event.
Pat Robinson was going to live stream it. That's what happened.
All right, I posted in Skype the video of the Russian cam meteors, best shots HD. It's still up, the video that I seen a long time ago. So maybe you can just have it playing in the background. It's only 4 minutes. But yeah, it just basically shows the phenomenon like pretty good and in pretty good detail. And it's even got some sounds in some parts. So yeah, it's a phenomenon. What it is, I don't know.
Is that the same one where all the windows broke in the buildings and stuff or factories?
I don't know if it's got that, but it's got a bunch of them. It's a compilation, right? So, but it's in Skype, Neil. Maybe you can even check it out and show it to your son. But it does not seem to match what they say it is. That's for sure. At least for me, it is for sure. But you guys can check it out for yourselves. It's also in Discord main chat. But it's a phenomenon. But I don't know exactly what's going on or what the cause of it is. Like Nathan says, some people do say it sounds like electricity a little bit too, like it crackles, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's an electrical phenomenon.
Mic check.
But
We got you.
But I haven't validated it. And don't you also go giving a just so story? Just say it could be this. You know, you could say it could be, but at the end of the day, you don't know. You don't know
I
the
don't
exact
say
cause.
it could be anything. I say I don't know what it is. If I can't validate it, I don't know what it is.
It's the ether.
Well, it's okay.
It's the ether dropping out the sky.
Hold on a second. It's all right to hypothesize. You know what I mean? Come up with the presupposition or whatever like that. But it just means you haven't validated it. You can get as far as that in the scientific method, right?
Let me rephrase. Let me
it is.
rephrase. It's okay to come up with just wild speculation and just so stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah,
Like if you observe the phenomena and it does look electrical in nature and it does sound electrical in nature, you can say maybe it's electrical, the phenomena related, right? But
could
I'm
be
not
ether.
saying, hold on a second, I'm not saying it is. And I am basing my maybe on, deductive reasoning, like I'm observing this. So because I'm observing this, maybe it's related to this, but I'm not saying it is related to that. That sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I don't know. Sounds better to me.
Like, yeah, I've been listening to you guys' show, and you guys make good points, and I try to incorporate that in what I talk. The good points you guys make. So,
but you also
I'm
want to make
careful.
nonsense up because it could be. I mean, it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Platypus.
That's what I was thinking too.
No, you're trying to say it is a duck, but I didn't say that.
Nah, it was a platypus.
But the thing is, that's how science is. You observe something. You
what?
You try to figure out what the hold on. You try to figure out what the cause of the phenomena is, don't you? And for that, you have to come up with the well, what could it be? Isn't that what the first step? Well, not the first step. First step is observe natural phenomena, and then you come up with a hypothesis. And your hypothesis is your presumed cause. And then you
Really?
go for the next step. Well, how do you validate your presumed cause? And then you got to come up with an experiment that validates it. And I wouldn't know how to do that for this phenomena.
It's not. I get corrected on this, so you're going to get it in the next two. It's not. What did you say? a presupposition of cause.
I
Or
thought
an
you used to use that term.
Yeah, or an assumption of cause. That's incorrect. It's a suppositional cause. A supposition that's yet
Right.
to be validated.
Right, I misquoted you.
But it's not me, it's just that's the correct terminology. If you say it's
Right,
an assumption,
I remember you.
it sounds like,
I remember
well, I
you
assume
saying
it does
that.
cause it. Well, no, you have a supposition of cause with a null that's yet to be validated. See how
Right,
different it
so
is?
what?
You phrase it that way and you've got a supposition yet to be validated
That's
versus, well, it could be that. Kind of looks like it.
that's fine. I thought I was quoting you, but I was misquoting you because I remember you using that word supposition before a lot of times, and I thought I was quoting the word supposition, but I wasn't.
In any event, yeah, just so stories are the way that they've taken part of the scientific method, which is to say you've got to suppose a cause and say, well, if I just take that in isolation, I've got, instead of a suppositional statement with a null to offer up the contrapositive, if A then B, or if A not B, if I just get rid of the null, I've got if A then B. Suddenly a supposition becomes an explanation. Well, it isn't.
Right, but I'm not giving the explanation. I'm just making an observation. I'm saying, oh, it looks electrical in nature and it sounds electrical in nature. Those are just observations.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Well, it's a correlation. Electricity sounds like this when traveling through wires. That kind of sounds like it. Okay. Correlation.
Yeah. Right, and correlation is not causation. I get it, but I can still observe. I can still make observations. Right, just like when we look
Don't we
at the
have to?
horizon, we see all kinds of things, all kinds of phenomena happening there. Right, it could be inferior mirage, it could be stooping, towering. Right, those are phenomena. But you can observe it, and you can say, "Look, it's stretching. Look, it's squishing." What are those? Those are descriptions of what you're observing.
Don't you have to know what these fireballs are in the first place, though? Calling them fireballs, what? We don't even know what they are yet.
Sorry, we don't
Why are
know
you
what
saying
these.
it's a fireball?
We don't know what these deceased unicorns falling from the sky are. We don't
No.
know what they are.
So how can we say what's causing it if we don't even know what it is?
What are the unicorns killing the deceased unicorns? I mean, I'm only assuming that that's what causes the deceased unicorns to fall from the sky. We know the deceased
We're making
unicorns.
this more complicated.
I mean, rocks.
We're making this more complicated than it has to be, guys.
It would be far simpler to just make something up about it. I know.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Georgie, not George.
Indeed. Well, it's good to have you all. We've been doing housekeeping a bit more sporadically recently, but I did do one yesterday and I will do one today. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
Black Swan.
Well, no, there's not actually. And even in the Earth curve calculator, they do sort of show it and describe it as straight line of sight parallel above surface level, and that's how they work out curvature, which is bizarre if you look at it.
Yeah, one of the guys in the comments for, I think it was on the second channel for one of the re-ups of a member-only after show, he's in the comments arguing the toss about Brian's current request for pitch data and saying it'll make no difference. Don't play dictionary games with me. And then he quotes a Merriam-Webster definition that says that level, having no part higher or lower than another, is actually comporting to the curvature of the water on Earth's surface. And I replied with exactly what you just said. No. To have curve deviate from level, you need level for it to deviate from, as per surface level in the Earth curve maths, with eye level parallel with it. It's not wrapped around a sphere. This is fundamentally idiotic. And also the reason they're all terrified of acquiring the logistical necessity for pitch data when travelling from here to Antarctica, as is being requested. The Globers think there's a neutral outcome attached to this because they've got one Merriam-Webster definition that's a contradiction in terms that's describing a violation of a Euclidean principle. That's their get out. Nah, lads, nah. We'll just take you straight to your own Earth curve maths that shows that surface level is level, having no part higher or lower than the other. Not comporting with the curve of Earth's water. There isn't any. And it wouldn't be comporting to give you level because level's having no part higher or lower than the other, as per your Earth curve maths that needs surface level to be level to believe in a curved edge below it, as you do. But you're not going to violate the Euclidean principle with the Merriam-Webster definition, guys on the globe side. That's not going to be a get out for not getting the pitch data either, you cowards. Terrified. They all know it's flat. That's what we're slowly starting to realise. They brace against that which they know will undermine their sphere belief. It's all very telling. So we've all figured out since just, 24 hours, 36 hours of asking them one simple thing. Yeah, validate the logistical need to travel to Antarctica with pitch data. Ah, it's not needed. No, we don't want to give it. I prove nothing. Brian can't read it. Oh, this is all very telling. Do you all know it's with respect to a flat plane because it can't be anything else? And you'd rather it wasn't brought to the surface level? Of course not. Yeah? You're all terrified of losing your sphere belief and would rather suppress that which might contradict your belief. And by contradict, I mean present measurements that are needed to fly a plane with respect to a flat Earth, which is what they do. So you know what that coming out into the public domain when you're trying to shut us down and claim we're the conspiracy theorists, the ones with measurements you need to believe in a ball, that is, after measuring it flat. Earth, that is. No geometric sphere edge horizons for you below a curving around Earth's surface level? No, definitely not. Deviating from a plane called surface level, parallel with eye level, as it must be. What about scientific evidence of gravity? We got any of that?
Just before that, though, Nathan, exactly. I mean, they're spending all this money apparently going down to Antarctica to, look at a light in the sky, which they claim could or not prove the shape of the Earth, which is ridiculous. But yet now they've been put forth the idea of gathering some more information of pitch data, which will prove that one way or the other. You think they'd be jumping all over that, wouldn't you?
No, they're terrified of it. They're shying away from it
They
and
won't
telling
be
us
able
it's
to
not worth
read it
its salt.
anyway.
No, they're shying away from it and telling us that it's not worth looking at. There's nothing to see here. Even if there was, Brian wouldn't know how to read it. Absolutely glorious. Yeah, Earth's flat, ladies and gentlemen. If you were unaware of that, let me be the first to tell you. That's how it's measured. And furthermore, if you're going to invest in a sphere belief, you'll need a flat Earth to measure to get it.
Can you validate that, Mr. Oakley?
Yeah, they've got latitude lines on their globe, regardless of whether they can present it in an actual
Those are
functional
imaginary.
model. Oh, my bad.
Those are
My bad.
imaginary.
We're just in the middle of responding to you as you decide to ejaculate straight through the middle of it.
I'm waiting.
I was talking, and then I got talked straight through the middle of. So now I'm waiting for you, the one who interrupted.
Oh, okay. So those are imaginary lines. Those are not real, Nathan.
The lines around the globe are not real now. There are no actual lines on the ground. They're called latitude. They're angle measurements with respect to a plane that we can use because they're marked on the maps and measurable with Polaris and a flat plane. Are there actually circles on the ground? No, absolutely not. Completely arbitrary in that respect because there is no line on the ground. There is a flat Earth measurement with a sextant to Polaris that creates this system that's lines on maps to correspond with positions on the ground. Now, from that perspective, there's only...
Polaris moves.
That was what I got interrupted for. No, Polaris doesn't move. You don't have to imitate the fundies that are irritating, Neil. Yes, 2 days ago we had a fundy here who wanted to ask me, how does it compare in the south without an actual star to get an angle measurement from, if you're comparing that to getting an angle measurement from Polaris in the north? And that angle measurement of Polaris in the north, we can't get because Polaris isn't a fixed position. It moves. It's not an angle measurement. It's not with respect to the ground. It's not useful. It's a line that's arbitrarily in the sky, and we wouldn't be measuring it even if it did exist. It has nothing to do with the ground. That was the position a fundamentalist zealot globe believer took. Ask me how to compare an angle measurement that they fundamentally must deny, because the minute they accept it, they accept Earth being measured flat. And while I'm in the middle of an explanation, having you interject with something that a fundy interjected with 2 days ago that was complete nonsense isn't really that helpful, Neil. It's just really irritating, especially in the middle of me talking.
Well, you stopped talking.
No, I did not. No, neither did the guy on the panel in the pre-show.
I'll go on mute.
You'd have to go on mute. You'd have to don't do the other extremist thing. It's just preferably, if you've got something to interject with, like a guy 2 days ago suggested that Polaris doesn't move, that can wait till I've done with my explanation. It can. If you think, no, it's really important that I interject this without any context, Polaris doesn't move, does that mean anything to the audience? Why is Neil saying Polaris doesn't move? This makes no sense. So you've interjected, interrupted, now you're doing it again while I explain, and now you're doing it again, now you're doing it again, now you're doing it again.
You stopped, and then
I didn't stop. I didn't stop then, I didn't stop last time, I haven't stopped.
Fine.
My God. Am I going nuts? Was I literally just explaining what was occurring and Neil just did the exact same thing I'm moaning about in the middle of the live show while I'm explaining how irritating it is? He's just interrupted it. Is he doing it right now? Is he doing it right now? Is he literally doing exactly that right now? Oh my God, Neil. Now he's run away. Yeah, it's one extreme or the other. Either I will interject in the middle of your ramble that's trying to educate an audience, or I'll disappear. Now just keep your mouth shut. Don't interrupt me 3 times while I'm moaning about the fact that you can't stop interrupting and then run away. I'm not allowed to moan about the fact that I can't get a bloody sentence out without Neil interjecting with some fundies objection that makes no sense from 3 days ago. What the hell? What am I going to do with that now? Have I now got to unpack that crap? Polaris does stay fixed in the sky. We use it with areas of equal elevation. Neil, for some unknown reason, has decided to interject in that explanation that I've now completely forgotten about because I'm now dealing with this instead of that. Bloody hellfire. Is anybody going to rescue me from that? Because I don't know what to do now. Short of moving to the video.
I thought the Globers claimed like the stars aren't moving. They just appear to move because the Earth's spinning underneath us. But yet then the guy's saying, well, Polaris moves. So, I mean, which one is it?
In that instance, it didn't make the slightest bit of difference. The stars that we navigate with move. Now, in terms of latitude, we have a particular fixed star that we can use for those circles of equal elevation. Now, are they any different to any other circle of equal elevation? Well, you don't need to know what time it is. That's about it. You can still measure stars that move in the sky. They all do it. So what? But that was his argument. No, it's not a measurement of Polaris with respect to a flat plane. Well, why isn't it? Because Polaris moves. No, you're about to, this same guy, ask me how it compares to an angle measurement of a flat plane in the south, while you simultaneously deny it because it's directly linked to the latitude lines wrapped around a globe. Now, he doesn't want them to be tied to a measurement of anything. It's arbitrary. No. Those lines around a globe are arbitrary. They don't mean anything. They're not measured. They're not measured with respect to a plane. They're not an angle. We couldn't get the angle. Polaris moves. Those are his positions to deny the fundamental base premise of his globe belief. That's what he had to do. How I'm on this because Neil's interjected with Polaris moves in the middle of my little ramble. Fine.
Morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Hey, Chocolate.
Right, we do actually have a video to cover today. Although it does seem to have not booted back up after my computer crashed. No, I did not. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be covering the Tinfoil Hat podcast. If you watched yesterday, you'd see that we got to about the hour mark and just gave up on videos, but then ended up going on for another hour anyway, so we could have technically covered it yesterday. But we did not. We scheduled it for today, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So I think it's a clip that's critiquing the debate between Dave and Whitsitt, as that's what the title suggests it is, at least. Professor Dave versus Austin Whitsitt debate with Eddie Bravo. So I assume this is the tinfoil hat guys just chatting about that discussion or that debate. I don't know. I'm fresh to this, so I actually don't know what this is going to be about until we watch it. So I'm green. I don't know who suggested it either. Liam, it was you. Okay, so is anybody else familiar with this particular discussion in full or clip?
Nope.
Negative. What happened? Check.
I think Nathan may be trying to find the video, maybe. He said his computer did crash. He might just be having trouble getting it up, maybe.
Oh, sorry, I was doing a whole introduction and I was on mute. That's how it goes sometimes. I won't fault QE next time it happens to him, and I have to ring in. Oh, by the way, there's no audio coming out. Okay, well, I'll do all of that again that I just did on mute. So, this is the Tinfoil Hat podcast, and it's them discussing Austin Whitsitt and Professor Dave. So, as is always the case, please let the Tinfoil Hat podcast Clips YouTube channel know. It's actually called Tinfoil Hat Clips. No, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So there's a link to this channel going by in the live stream chat now. If you're a fan of Tinfoil Hat Podcast, you'll obviously be a fan of their Clips channel, which is, by the looks of things, literally just been launched because it's got only a few hundred subscribers. So I'm sure they'd appreciate this channel being built up. So go and subscribe to them. They're friendlies, so yeah, there's no need for me to preemptively say that you shouldn't be swearing and leaving nasty comments. But just drop them a comment. As you can see, there's the link going by in the live stream chat now. Let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and explain that we've reacted to this clip. Or let them know that you subscribed as a result of me sending you them there. Get my tongue around it. So there we go. That's like I say, that's my call to action. Hopefully that's enough time for people to see the clip. I'll see the link to the clip going by in the live stream. Click on it, leave a comment, let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and then come back, as I've done that for a good minute, excluding the bit where I was on mute. Go ahead, whoever that is. One in Discord. Go ahead. No, somebody just came off mute for the sake of it. Anyway, right, we'll do a quick sound check of this, and then we'll actually get into it.
But it's interesting times, man. It's interesting times. So did you see the Justin from the Quarterling had the big flat earth debate between Austin and Professor Dave the professor? Did you see that?
I heard about it but didn't see it.
Okay, so there's the first problem. Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel. That's just the name of a YouTube channel. When you say Dave the Professor, suddenly you've ascribed false valor to a man who is not a professor. I have no issue calling him Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel, because it's just a title for a YouTube channel. Doesn't, in my way of not having to moan about this constantly, my way of justifying it, right? But Dave, he's not a professor. It wasn't a debate between Whitsitt and a professor.
I mean, dude, hold on, let me find it really quick.
Who was he debating, Professor Dave? I heard the second. I heard the quarter ring, and then I heard.
Yeah. It was Austin Whitsitt, who has been on our show.
They got together.
Professor Dave.
Oh wow!
who has always been like the anti-flat earther, and I think Whitsitt just annihilated him.
Oh wow. What?
Anybody know who this guy is? Top left corner. Is it just me, or does it bring a warm fuzzy feeling when somebody random uses our glossary of terms? He's just an anti-flat earther. Boom.
I was just gonna say that. Like, wow, anti-flat earther has gone a little bit wide there, huh? That came from us.
Copyright Nathan
That's
Oakley,
crazy.
1980.
Well, I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah, Nathan Oakley and versus Professor Dave is what I want to see. Nobody can beat Nathan Oakley. He demolishes everybody. The fact, like these flat Earth debates with like Professor Dave, there's high level flat Earth debates. There's like the low level ones, like, oh, how come there's no pictures of space, of Earth from space? And then there's the super scientific ones. That's what Nathan Oakley's really good at. Like, I don't even understand half the shit, but to me, the fact.
Holy crap, this is high praise of me. I wasn't expecting. I had seen the clip, I just didn't know it was from this. So somebody sent me about a 10-second clip of him just saying the first bit, and I was like, oh, thanks for the shout out. I had no idea his praise was this high. I'm red faced.
The fact that we're still debating about this, we shouldn't. If we were really on a ball spinning through space at speeds you can't see,
right?
There would not be any debates. There would be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of pictures of Earth from space. All sorts, just beautiful ones, with the sun over here, the moon
You're
over
totally
there.
right, dude.
There would be hundreds of, but still, they can't figure out how to take a fucking picture of Earth from space.
That's right, Eric. Okay, right. So there's a good chance if I put this in the title and I'm sending people to the Tinfoil Clips channel that's brand spanking new, there's actually a reasonable chance that they might actually pick up on us critiquing this. So, number one, Eddie could probably kick my ass, so I'll pick my words reasonably carefully just in case he meets me. Okay, right, let's furnish Eddie with some better arguments. So he's saying, in this position, there should be millions of photos from space. Likewise, we would say, well, why wouldn't you want to give us the pitch data? Everything should point towards the ball-shaped nature. That's kind of the vibe he's going with. However, there is no photos from Narnia. Narnia being outer space, a sky vacuum. So we're all breathing high-pressure gas. That is to say, 14.7 psi is what we could measure. If you looked on your pressure gauge forecourt garage, 0 is basically 14.7 psi. So if you read 0 on your tire, in simplest terms, it's got the same pressure inside and outside of the tire, right? So 14.7 psi. And then what it's actually showing you on the gauge is the difference between normal, in quote, atmospheric pressure and whatever you pump into the tire, right? The tire's the container. It holds the pressure inside the tire against the rim and the rubber. Yeah? So it's containment. Now, as we all know, over time, a little bit of air will squeak out. It might be that the rim hasn't got the right amount of glue or whatever. Or you get a puncture. A nail goes into the tire and it doesn't immediately deflate, but it very annoyingly deflates over the course of about a week. Because that nail leaves a tiny gap. And what's happening inside the rim and wheel, rubber of the tire? Well, there's gas particles that are bouncing between the rim and the rubber and the rim and the rubber and the rim. That's all they're doing all day long. But eventually, instead of hitting rubber, there's a hole. And one gas particle escapes through the hole and out into the rest of the gas, leaving your tire with slightly less pressure. Now that is entropic dispersion, a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics. It's the description of gas filling a volume. Yeah, if it's available to it, it will eventually fill it. Eventually, no matter how small the hole is, all of the gas with enough time will bounce rubber, rim, hole. With enough time, every single gas particle will eventually come in contact with the hole and leave the tire. Yeah? Hope that's all clear. With that in mind, In order for us to be breathing gas pressure at 14.7 psi, we must first develop the gas pressure. We need a similar set of circumstances like with the tyre. You can't just have the rim and the air compressor and hold the air compressor up to the rim without a tyre on it and expect pressure to maintain around the rim. You need something to contain the gas pressure. So with that in mind, now let's contrast the heliocentric sky vacuum worldview of a globe, where they suggest that a rock in a massive vacuum developed gas pressure. Well, how did that happen? The very first gas particle comes out of this imaginary Narnian sphere-based world developed from maths from flat earth measurements in the mind's eye of people like Kepler. But in that world that we can imagine we are on, a sphere-shaped world in a vacuum, the first gas particle comes out of the ground and immediately goes into the sky vacuum and never returns. Why? Well, because it's not collided with anything, like a tyre. It just carries on indefinitely. And so does the second gas particle and the third gas particle. They never form pressure. They all disperse into it in line with entropic law. So we'd never have gas to breathe. Ergo, the claim that we are breathing high pressure gas and there is no containment for it, simply an end to the pressurized gas and then a vacuum. Well, that vacuum is where they claim to take these pictures from. Although this has taken a little longer than it necessarily should, I want this argument to be as clear and as concise as possible for Eddie. So that when NASA, pictures from space, journeys to the moon, orbital motion, when any of these subjects that involve the sky vacuum come up, you instantaneously know that any claim from within that region is bunk. You can't take pictures from an area of volume, that's a sky vacuum, where the pictures of high pressure gas violating natural law is beneath you. That's to say, you're looking back at high pressure gas not filling the area of volume you're taking the picture from. Direct violation of laws of nature that govern the way gas behaves. It expands into a volume. If the sky was an availability of volume, that's a sky vacuum, where they say they get the pictures from, then we'd all be dead. We'd have never developed gas pressure. You can't have gas pressure without a container. It's required for the gas to press on. Isn't that shocking? You don't have that in a heliocentric bullshit world of spheres in sky vacuums. There's just arbitrary points that they describe where gas isn't at pressure anymore. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and then there's the Kármán line. And then you have violations of natural law gas particles that just come back down again. No, they don't do that. They follow in whatever trajectory they have left the ground in whatever vector until they collide with something. That's what gas does in every single example. So for us to be breathing gas, there cannot be a sky vacuum. Might seem obvious after a lengthy explanation, but that is the undoing of every single sky vacuum-based space claim. They're all bunk, like saying, I know Aslan talks, I took the pictures in Narnia. Oh really? You went through a wardrobe, put on a coat, saw some snow, traversed lands far and wide, and then talked to a lion. Yeah, here's my video. Look at the snow in my video from Narnia. Now, when I put it that way, you understand that automatically the videography of Aslan talking doesn't need to be debated. Nobody's in Narnia. Nobody's traversed the wardrobe. Nobody's going past the Kármán line, waving goodbye to high pressure gas, and then going into an area it's not filling to take a picture of it. It's utterly absurd and a violation of a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics. Anybody got anything to add?
Sorry, Nathan, just to, I mean, it is safe to say as well, I mean, you could have you could have a vacuum in a container. Yeah. You'd need a container for a vacuum state, and you'd also need a container for a pressurized state. but you couldn't have the vacuum state and the pressurized state within the same container.
No, that's absolutely correct. Brian was quick to point that out because I'd left it out of the book. So at the end of that particular chapter, Brian was like, no, it's in some way or form you need to incorporate in the fact that you can't have a vacuum without containment. Because I'd obviously gone on exactly as I've just done with explaining how gas pressure forms. So in order to have gas pressure, you must have containment. No, you also need containment to have a vacuum. Correct. Anything else anyone wants to add? Or we'll move on with the video if not.
It should be the end of the debate.
Yeah,
But you know
I
what?
agree.
There are none.
I agree.
There are none. So they got to talk about, in the year 800 AD, Aristophanes he put up a fucking straw in Syria, and then 800 miles away or whatever, 800 kilometers away, another stick, and then they saw the shadows. Earth is a ball. They still bring that up like it was a fact, like there was some dude.
And so should you, Eddie. So, what type of measurement is Aristophanes making? Anybody?
Oh, it's an angle. It's an angular measurement.
Elevation angle.
It's an elevation angle. So, Aristophanes is the biggest blag ever. What's he measuring? Eddie just described it. A stick and a shadow. It's an angle measurement. What's an angle? Two straight lines meeting at a vertex. You can only measure an elevation angle measurement to the sun, as is being done in the case of Aristophanes, if you have an horizontal plane to stand on to measure the angle with respect to. And that is precisely what Aristophanes is claimed to be doing. What's he actually doing? He's measuring a flat Earth for an angle. Now, if you put this 5 years ago to our opponents, their response would be pretty straightforward. Earth is so big, I can measure it flat. Okay, so if I just take the actual measuring bit then, so by admission of the ballers themselves, we measure Earth flat for Aristophanes' angle. It can only be flat. Curved lines meeting a straight line at a vertex point is not an angle. It must be flat. Hence the apologetics. Oh, don't worry about the fact we're not measuring it in any way ball-shaped. That's because it's so big, we can, say it one more time, measure Earth flat for this angle that we're using. It's got to be, right? Straight line. So he's measuring Earth flat. It's an elevation angle, an altitude angle measurement to the sun. Let me define what that is. An elevation angle measurement. The angle that this is describing to prove a ball? Definitely not. Altitude angle, sometimes referred to as solar elevation angle, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. Sustainable by design. Altitude angle.
Also, what Eratosthenes did, apparently, is using the surface of Earth to get them angles and elevation angles, and he's got the distances between 2 points, and he's got the angle. Then what he has to do, he has to take himself down to the center of Earth in the middle of a sphere to do some mathematics and division and use the 360 of the sphere to come up with the radius value, when he's not actually took any measurements from the center of the sphere. He's done it all from the surface of Earth in the first place.
Flat. Give you one more definition. The solar altitude measures the angle between the central ray from the sun and a horizontal plane contacting the observer. That's education.psu.edu. You need a horizontal plane for this measurement. The blag that this proves a globe? No, the actual measurement requires Earth to be flat. You cannot get this measurement any other way. It's an elevation angle. It's what we've been banging the drum of for 2 years. Yeah. Earth's measured flat. Aristophanes is measuring it flat.
No phone. They're on camels. They're 800 kilometers away, and somehow they stuck us. You guys are still talking.
So, 800 kilometers, it isn't. It's stadia. But if it was, like miles, it's a linear distance. It's straight and flat. That's how these distance measurements work. Distance requires a flat plane.
Talking about that. Why don't you reproduce that today?
I totally agree with that. Dude.
From before Jesus. You're talking about some shit before Jesus, or maybe around the same time he was alive. You can't. Why don't you just do it again right now? Why aren't there millions of pictures of Earth from space? Why are we
you're totally right.
Who would take those? Are you saying like from satellites or something? Is that what you mean, or from the space station?
Yes, you know what they said. We can't. We got to take composites, and we do strips of data.
I mean, I've seen videos of them on the space station. You know, they do their live streams.
Yeah, but I've seen pictures of Narnia. Definitely, I've got. Anybody else in Aslan talking in Narnia? Talking about your pictures from the television or from the internet of men in a sky vacuum, like gods in heaven. Now, you're not there. You're not validating being there. And there is a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, that gas isn't filling. But you think there's people up in Narnia taking pictures of high-pressure gas not filling space, areas of volume it could be filling. No. But you trust the sky gods to have been there. I mean, they're just men. But to you, they're gods, because you trust them implicitly. You've seen video of men in space. No, you have not. You've seen video of men. That's what you've actually seen.
Johnny, if you want to call them that.
Johnny.
But no, what I'm saying, what are you saying that
he's saying is what I'll tell you what he's saying. It's like it shouldn't even be an issue. There should be a gazillion pictures. There should be.
You know what?
There should be.
The problem with this position is that what happens if they give you a gazillion pictures? You're going to believe them then because they satisfied that arbitrary number? All of the pictures are fake because they're all taken from a sky vacuum. A second law of thermodynamics violation, area of volume, gas is not filling. The high pressure gas we are breathing would instantaneously fill that volume. That's what it does. Gas fills space.
Be more pictures of the actual round Earth than there are women's buttholes on the internet.
The space station, but the videos, the live streams they do from the space station, you're not even counting that.
Like the live streams they do from Narnia of the voice coaching that Aslan has. You know, she can give good speeches. What about the live streams of the voice coaching that Aslan gets? We're all buying it, right? There's a 24-hour live stream from Narnia. There's snow in it. Yeah? Yeah, it's just your faith in an area that violates natural law that men have lied to you about being in. You're not there. You just trust that they are. No, they're not. They're not in an area looking back at high-pressure gas not filling a volume. That's what it does by way of laws of nature. Now, to believe that the men are up there in a sky vacuum, you've got to be able to deny a law of nature. It is that simple. Gas fills space. Where they're taking these pictures from for you to believe that in a 24-hour feed, what are they filming? Oh, clouds and stuff from the sky? What, clouds and a black area are 10 to minus 17 toward that the clouds at high pressure, it's not strictly, but it's an easy enough visual reference to describe this. They're not dispersing into a vacuum. They're looking back, they can see the black bit. That's a vacuum. And they can see the clouds, right? Representative of the high pressure gas we're all breathing. And what, one isn't going into the other? Straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. But you believe it, because you've been there. Of course you haven't. Men you trust claim to be in Narnia.
But why don't the people that are pro ball ever use that video that you're talking about? You know why? Because it's so easily debunked. It's a fucking fish. All it is their high altitude airplanes. So probably like.
So you think they're up there? Okay, all right.
No, they're like about 80,000 feet up. They're not in space. They're
I see. Okay, so your argument about that is they're not even at the altitude. I guess.
Altitude? What, like 30,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 200,000 feet off sea level? That's the problem. Most people don't appreciate that when they start arguing for a ball like this guy in the cap's doing, they start using flat Earth measurements to do it. Oh, so you don't believe they're up there? Up? You'll need a flat plane to reference to describe up. You don't have up on a ball. You've got out from the centre of a point that's identical on all edges from that centre point. There is no up on a ball. But you immediately go to, well, you don't believe they're up there. What, perpendicular to horizontal? Up there. At altitude? What, the description of how high they are from sea level? Yeah, you're going to need a flat plane to start arguing for your ball, but you don't even realise it, do you? Before you've even started presenting your fundamentalist, zealot religious belief in a ball that you're now going to defend and argue for. You've already proven Earth's flat twice.
Footage,
I understand.
All
Yeah.
that footage is that footage of Earth with a curve. It's just footage of like 1,000
That's Fish
feet,
Island.
but with fish eye.
Yeah,
That's why they never bring it. All those guys, Professor Day, they never bring that shit up because they
you're right.
easily debunk. They don't bring that shit up. They don't bring that. It's almost like you're trying to prove that this man is not your father. And they bring, and then there's all these pictures of you and the guy that is not your father. And the reason why you don't think he's your father because all the pictures are fake. And you're like,
is the guy in the top left Sam? Now he's revealed his face. That's Sam Tripoli, isn't it? Right.
All these pictures are fake of this guy that's pretending to be my dad. He's not, but they're like, no, but he is your dad because he grew up here and then boom, and he was with your mom. But why?
I tuned out for a second. What's he talking about? Do I have to rewind this? Does anybody keep track with that while I was paying attention who's in the podcast? Clearly not. Does anybody know who the other two characters are? One's not said anything yet. This black guy in the bottom left-hand corner. Does anybody know who he is?
I can't see it, but no, I can't look. I'm sorry.
No, fair enough.
Why are the pictures fake? Why aren't the pictures real? The pictures are. There's something wrong if the pictures are not.
You know what that
real.
reminds
There's
me
something
of?
wrong there.
This Kate.
Why are the pictures fake?
The Princess Kate shit. Like, if you're telling me that Princess Kate is just going through and it also, well, you're never gonna get everybody to believe in everything, but I do believe if the question gets answered in Joe's head about the Earth being flat and he accepts that it's flat, I think he will care. And the reason I say that is because then you will go, why are they lying to us about it? And then you go, if they're lying,
You there, Chocolate? You there, Chocolate? No, he's not going to bounce on it. Hey, Adam. Why would they lie?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Adam.
lying to us about that, what else are they lying to? Because once you get into flat Earth, then you start getting into some biblical shit, and then you start getting into God, and then that changes everybody. So an atheist, good luck, will never believe in flat Earth because his religion is science, and it is completely faith based.
Yeah, this is that crossing point in the journey of flat Earth where we go, like with Candace Owens, where she makes this same mistake, because he's now comparing this to people in the science cult. Again, his sentiment is right on. Okay, you've been lied to by people who've said the word science a lot, but they didn't have any science. That's the trick. They convinced you that they had empiricism when they made up stories, and they convinced you with that word. But that doesn't mean that when they get proven wrong, the word they use to convince you of their empiricism is the bit that's deceived you. Science can't deceive you. It has no lips. Science is just a method, and if you've adhered to that method, you're justified in calling what you claim science, and it will be empirical. However, if you've got a great formula for a shampoo that'll make ladies' hair shiny, that is not science. But if you say it's science, here comes the science part, then people will instinctively believe that it's been empirically validated. Now, that makes the people who made the claims of science without having put their actual phenomena that they observed, if they had one at all, through the method of science, it makes them pseudoscientists. That would be people who are claiming science and haven't adhered to the method. Definitely doesn't mean that there's a cult of science, because science is just a method that they never had to begin with. The liars who said that the whole body of science proved you're on a globe, they were liars. They didn't adhere to the scientific method. But science hasn't wronged you, it's just a method.
On
If
everything.
you listen,
99%.
Sorry, go ahead. G+.
yeah, if you listen to the difference between what he's saying and what Candace is saying, or said, that Candace said that science is a, I guess she said, pagan religion. You know, this guy, he said that their religion is science, or so-called science, right? And there's a big distinction between the two, right?
That's the distinction I'd make. It's not a cult of science. It's a cult of people that use the valor of science to cajole you to buy things, force you to behave in certain ways, undertake certain procedures, convince you that things should be done like this, that things are true because of science. When it's not, like I say, it's not the cult of science, it's the cult of liars and deceivers who have used the valor of science or misused the valor of science to trick you.
You know, at first I was dismissing the simulation theory because I believe we're in a fucking lake and it's level and we're surrounded by ice. But now I believe in both. I believe
they both can exist together.
Not exactly. We're in a fucking machine. We're in an electromagnetic torus field.
Are we? I wonder who you've been hanging around with. No, we already know he's close to the people who are peddling ether. So obviously this is what we fear, right? People who are left spouting numpty nonsense that leaves them in a position to be easily ridiculed. Okay, according to what you've just said, we live in a torus field. Show us. That's the end of that. Right?
It's not so much, you see, again, it's half truths to paint a non-demonstrable reality. I think we all would recognize we have magnets and compasses, and that there is a magnetic field that we use. And I suppose you may describe that as a torus field. But to invoke it as some kind of causation of something, which is where this is heading, is foolish. All we know is that we have a magnetic field. As for the rest of it, it is conjecture. And to try and claim that the reason we live on a flat plane is because we are the center of two toroidal fields converging, creating a dielectric plane, which is where this is heading, that's the dangerous bit, Eddie. Don't deny magnets, but don't allow somebody to mug you off with the same level of standard that got you to believe you were on a ball.
We're in a machine. The stars, the sun, and the moon, they're not just floating randomly in random directions. They're all caught in a fucking grid. And it's all the magnetism is coming from the North Pole. That's why Polaris is right over the North Pole, and that's the only fixed star. All the stars rotate around Polaris, and Polaris happens to be over the center of this.
You see, we know we've got magnets. Now you've invoked causation of rotation of the star field due to the magnets and the known, yeah? Now you're invoking a drift. But no, there's a toroidal magnetic field. It's not rotating like that, is it? Now you're at best, you're going to imply correlation and then lead to the big mistake that you'll then invoke causation, as you've done.
Again, I don't want this to be viewed as us being overly critical of people that are on our own side, which is something that people have tried to level at us recently. And I tried to explain it with that Shane guy, the fighter that we covered about a week ago. I don't want him to be ridiculed as a flat earther. That's it. if you can put positions that are incontestable, then you're going to be hard pushed to find yourself in a position where people are ridiculing you for stuff that you can't validate. Talk about how Earth's measured flat with those exact same Polaris-based systems on the ground that we do move around the ground with. You can show it, you can prove it, you can show how navigators measure angles to the star called Polaris and have developed a latitude grid with it. That's a fact. It's a flat Earth fact. It can only be measured flat. It's an angle to the star Polaris, just like Aristophanes with his sun angle measurement. It's an elevation angle again. So this proves Earth's flat. But as a flat earther, Eddie's been taken down a road by Dave and Whitsitt where that proof of a flat Earth is now being used to speculate about a toroidal field powered by Earth's magnetism, and that creates the star rotation. I don't know, man. If you put this in front of anybody with any intellect, they're going to rip you a new asshole, Eddie. Yeah? Just letting you know. You're going to sound stupid. Because it is. Now, I don't want that for you. I want you to be in a position where you absolutely slam the person who's talking to you like you're an idiot about how Earth must be a globe into the middle of next week with one punch. Not something that'll break down your defences and leave you ready to be slapped around with someone with half an intellect because you've declared that we've got toroidal field for the stars because Earth's got magnetic fields. I don't want that, man. I want you to be battering people with this information. Earth's measured flat with Polaris. It's about as basic as it gets. Latitude measurement, elevation angle measurement. Couple of sentences, boom, done. Earth's measured flat. What are you going to do with it? No, we measure a globe. Well, you've got the same measurements around your globe. You just can't measure them on a globe. We need angles for them. There's the globe defeated. In a way that is absolutely incontestable. Don't believe me? Listen to the debate show from 3 days ago, where the guy comes in and has to fundamentally deny every aspect of a Polaris measurement. Because if he relates that measurement that's flat to his globe, boom, it's done. So he will deny. We're not measuring it. It's moving. We can't measure it. It isn't a measurement. It's not with respect to the ground. Well, it is with respect to the ground, but it's an imaginary ground. That's what they've got to do when it comes to this measurement. Do we need to use it to prove bloody magnetism? What's that doing? What's that? Who's that helping? It's not helping anybody. But the very same star is used for navigating the ground flat. That's the difference between what we're punting and what others in this community, who may be perfectly righteous in filling a void with just so stories, but that's not what we do. We'll give you facts that people won't ridicule you with when you put it to them.
Lake, this prison lake that we're in, this electromagnetic machine. We're in a fucking machine. We're in a machine, and we are like nanobots in this machine. We are our own little miniature Torus field. We're being run by electricity. So we are in a simulation.
They might expect me to say, well, that's crazy. Well, actually, ironically, that's about as close to the truth as you can get. Yeah, our bodies are made up of absolutely amazing little machines, building stuff and fixing stuff and creating new stuff. It's astonishing. Now, he's called it nanobots, and when he first said it, I was like, oh, God, this is definitely going to get a harsh critique. And actually, no. Maybe Adam will back me up.
It's the frustrating point here is he's marveling at a midpoint. All the things he's describing and he's trying to ascribe cause to, doesn't matter. Realize what the majesty you're being shown. You're being demonstrated. All these amazing things demonstrate a creator. Just leave it there. Why do you need to pretend you can describe how the creator made all these amazing things and whether they're toroidal in nature or not? Just recognize it's the majesty of creation that you're being shown, and don't be so egotistical as to think that you're gonna be able to explain it to people. And more certainly, don't repeat what the ballers do, which is to give a just so story explanation with at best pseudoscience.
What grieves me the most, Adam?
It makes us open to ridicule.
It makes him open to ridicule.
Hold
on, Adam. It makes him specifically open to ridicule. In this case, a fighter So they've turned a fighter into a hippie new earther, talking about toroids and flower of life next. I mean, Eddie, I never expected it for me to be doing this to you. Come on, man. What's going on? Weren't you a fighter? This is hippy dippy, namby pamby garbage. Yeah?
Well, I would say that a lot of flat earthers are in the land beyond. Like there's nothing else to do but speculate. They're like at the end of Grand Theft Auto, you don't have to complete any missions, you got billions of dollars. Like I think that there are a lot of people who aren't plugged into the Discord space or the spaces that we're plugged into, not plugged into this show directly, meaning, if you're not communicating with us, having this level of communication with us or other people in certain, other Discords, it's natural for the people to go, yeah, it's flat. I already know that. I'm in speculation land because I haven't been able to do this my whole life. And so I'm gonna give him some leeway because a lot of people think that it's a simulation, and a lot of people are in that frame of mind. I'm gonna go ahead and give them some leeway.
I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Right? I believe in certain things about the nature of the reality, and a lot of it's based in scripture, but it's not something that I bring to flat earth debate. And when I'm debating flat earth with people, I don't bring to the table what I believe. When I talk cosmology and stuff like that, I'll tell them what I know. I know that you cannot have gas pressure without containment. And they're the things that I'll talk about and argue and debate with anti-flat earthers or ballers. There's no benefit of flat earth for me to bring my beliefs that I can't substantiate into the argument, as pretty and complex and believable as they may be, substantiated with other correlations, as we've said. But they are of no use in the flat earth debate arena. They open you
right,
up.
but
Adam, get those last words in. This is the critical bit. Go on, Adam. They open you up.
They open you up to the point that the flat earth can then be ridiculed because your beliefs become conflated with flat earth proofs.
Go on, Eli.
I get that. I'm just in the frame of mind. I'm not gonna call you a debater if I haven't seen you out here debating. And so for those particular people, I just afford them the perspective. Well, I have a perspective of them where, well, they're not debating, but they're having conversations. And you know what? Like I've heard people, even on the ether side, say, well, we don't want to debate people. We want to be in conversation mode where we get people comfortable enough to communicate with us. Now, there's a thin line between the ether people and the people that I'm talking about, people who might have a podcast like Eddie Bravo, who aren't necessarily debating, but it's a conversation piece.
Yeah, that's garbage. That's garbage. That's garbage. It's a fight. It's a fight. Adam used those words, opens you up. So I'm going to put it in terms that Eddie Bravo is going to appreciate. What Adam means is it opens up your defenses so you can take a few jabs in the nose. That's what he actually means. Yeah? Now, we can water this down, Eli, and suggest that actually when we're in a ring, we've put a little table and we're having a candlelight dinner in the middle of the ring. We can pretend that we're doing that, but it is a fight. Yeah? Now, you can say, well, this person's not got into a ring. Yeah, that don't matter to the general populace. They'll fight you on the streets. That's a fact. Now, in this instance, we're talking about being opened up intellectually to having a broken nose intellectually, metaphorically. Now, that's language that Eddie Bravo will definitely understand. And talking about things that you cannot validate just opens you up for a broken nose. We want your defenses absolutely watertight, so that you walk away with your pretty face intact, never looking stupid. This will make you look stupid. Now, I appreciate that you've spent some time in other people's dojo, and they've taught you what they say are excellent remarks and rebuttals and argumentation. See too far, ether, toroidal fields, yeah. Yeah, that dojo's crap, Eddie. Telling you now. Now, while I appreciate that you are only in contact with me because Dave Weiss gave you my phone number, not that I gave him permission to do so, nevertheless, we're in communication now, and I'm going to take it upon myself to tell you you're in a crap dojo. You're going to get your ass kicked. That's a fact. Now, you can do one of two things. Believe in this crap dojo that's leaving you with your arms wide apart, ready to get your nose broken, or you can listen up. Yeah? And come to the school of ninjas. Yeah? That's where we are. This is our dojo, where we leave you in a position where you can break noses when people can't even see you moving. No one's going to get a hit on you if you use these arguments. You talk about how Earth's measured. I assure you, that measurement will be required by your opponent. It will be undeniable. Now, what might be the case is they might deny their own bleeding measurement at that point, but then you're winning, and they're smashing themselves in the face. You don't even have to hit them. They'll do it themselves. At this dojo, that's right. Our fighting skill is so good that we can mystify our opponent into beating his own face in. Like with the opponent a couple of days ago, denying the very base premise of his own globe that he believes in. Any measurement that's associated with that globe he would deny, quite happily. And have me point out that, so you are denying your own globe then? Yes, I am, because if I accept this measurement, I'm accepting Earth's measured flat. That's what we offer. Now, some might turn around and call me a scammer because I point out how crap a dojo is. Well, all I see is a line of people walking away from the ring after being trained at that dojo with broken noses. That's all I see coming out of the ring.
All right. Yeah. I think with this one, I'm kind of with Eli. I was kind of thinking towards those lines because.
Wait.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on, Eli, then Chocolate.
I'm sorry, Chocolate, because what you said there, Nathan, is exactly what I felt was missing. So it wasn't that what I was saying was wrong. It's that, you've now placed Eddie Bravo in the position to actually hear what you're saying. Because we don't want to hear, you don't want to plug into a podcast or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, this is crap. What are you doing? Right? But with the perspective of, okay, check this out, brother. Here's where the criticism is coming in. You're a fighter, right? Okay, check this out. The things that you're saying, whether you believe you're in the ring or not, they're gonna get your a-hole handed to you, and this is why XYZ. This is why we're telling you this, because we actually care. We actually want you to win. I just think we can always do better at saying that first. So you said that. I'm good with that. That's great.
Yeah, what I was going to add is that, number one, I think Eddie is smart enough to know the difference, right? Because remember how he started this podcast? He told his people's, there's levels to this, right? There's like the crappy debates, and then in his words, the super scientific debates, right? Which he threw you under, right? Now, I understand that you want him to come to this dojo and learn the ninjutsu and stuff, but right now he's not using ninjutsu because he's not debating. He's just talking to his boys about what he believes, and that's why I don't disparage him too much. Going into the toroidal and the ether and all that, people want to have discussions, and we can't really just regulate everything.
Are you having me on? Are you having me on?
No.
This is not a discussion in a table over a dinner. This is a publicly broadcasted clip from a podcast.
Yeah, but come on, man. You know there's a difference.
No, there isn't. He's a public figure. He's a public figure going against consensus, opening himself up for a broken nose. That is a fact.
And he's okay with that. Look, he's done this on the Joe Rogan show, right? And Joe Rogan is his boy, and he'll completely go back and forth with it because he knows that's a debate. I don't think, maybe I could be wrong, I don't think he would bring that type of thing up in a debate.
Okay, let me get it clear. Hold on. I'm going to go rolling into this. No worries. So you're saying Eddie Bravo has got into the back and forth debate about flat Earth with Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan with the consensus view and the popularity behind him. I'm assuming Joe Rogan won the consensus view or he wouldn't be where he is now. What if I was to suggest that he could put Joe Rogan on his ass? Would that not appeal? Metaphorically speaking.
Basically, he kind of put Joe Rogan on his ass already. Because, I mean, the last debate I remember seeing between them two, like, Joe Rogan was saying things, and even Eddie was just like, bro, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know what that means, what you just said. You know what I'm saying? So on that level, yeah, there's I just think, like, right now, like, he's not in debate form right now. He's not going back and forth with these dudes. He's just talking. He's just having a conversation.
Well, you're wrong.
Well,
It's a given.
hold on, wait.
That's cool.
I want
That's
to
my
respond
opinion.
to that point that both Eli and Chocolate have made, and Nathan's objectionable to as well. Okay, let's not call it a debate, but every time in these lovely discussions that we're having, we're asking, could Eddie point out in a very polite way that this Ethereum stuff has got nothing to do with flat Earth, and that we may want to discuss it as a belief system, as a separate function, but he has nothing to do with flat Earth and how we know the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I agree with that. So again, I think what me and Chocolate are saying, I think what we're saying is in the right place. It's just when Nathan says what he says, to me it sounds like good advice, because if retrospectively I would take that advice back then if I could. Because I think as a flat earther, I'm just going to my friends and family and saying, oh, well, I don't think the moon landing happened. And I'm about to get my A handed to me. And I don't even know it. So it's good for Nathan to say, hey, you think you aren't in the arena? No, well, wait till you tell a crowd of people or your friends you're a flat earther, see what happens. Or have a casual conversation on your public platform and say something that's silly and see what happens. So it's more like a fair warning, like, listen, we've been there, we've done that. Here's a better alternative before you go down that road.
Here we go. Here's an analogy. Look, right, you've spent some time watching the professional wrestling now. Yeah? But I'm telling you now, if you try and go out and clothesline somebody, yeah, there's a good chance it looks good on the orchestrated stage of wrestling. And I'm not talking about proper wrestling. I'm talking about WWE or wherever they now call it. Used to be WWF. You know, the fake wrestling. There's some moves that look awesome, right? And sound amazing when you describe them. But are they actually practically usable? No, they require complete cooperation from the person that you're doing them to make it look amazing. So, if I point out that you've watched this and are now almost pretending that that is a good fighting style, that's how you're coming across. Now, that will just lead you getting a broken nose when someone else who sees straight through it goes, okay, so you're saying the toroidal field creates the turn of the stars? Okay. How? Why? Prove it. Show me. That's it. You look like an idiot. Takes a couple of questions. Who, what, where, why, when, how. And then suddenly you look like an idiot. Contrast that with Earth's measured flat. How'd you know that? Because that's how it's measured. Well, give me an example. Okay, latitude. It's an elevation angle off a flat baseline. You can only measure Earth flat to get that measurement. Where are you going to go with that? No broken nose, just a guy who now has to either deny the base premise that the globe is based on, a flat Earth measurement of this star, or accept that Earth's measured flat. That's it. That's the only outcome. Deny your own model, accept it's flat. Those are your choices. Which is better? Meanwhile, spinning reverse haymaker. No. Learning about the toroidal field and the flower of life might sound quite crazy, hippy-dippy and fantastical, but it just makes a fighting man come across as a hippie. In my opinion.
And the simulation is flat. and the torus field is like an apple. And that's what I believe. And
so you believe we live in a torus field?
There's this one video. I forget who showed it to me, and maybe you know about this video. And I don't know. I don't know shit. I'm just making assumptions based on what I see. I could be totally wrong. You know what I mean? But I know if we're on a ball.
Right, pause. See what's happened, right? You live in the torus field, and now you've had to just go and say, I'm making shit up. Now, you said it nice, Eddie, but if actually you're trying to portray flat Earth, you're not, and you just now admitted to whoever you're talking to, not even debating, that you just make shit up. And then even the good stuff, is that made up as well now? Stuff that you can prove. And I'm not saying we don't live in a torus field. There's all sorts of majesties of creation. Yeah? But we're here to demonstrate flat Earth, not what we think the nuances of the majesty of creation may or may not be. Just stick to our proofs that prove flat Earth.
It also suggests a recognition, which is good. Err on the positive, as you've just aired on the negative. Okay, so you presumably are recognizing that this isn't necessarily in any way validated. When you say, well, I might not know, that's like leaving yourself some wiggle room, some weasel room. You know, well, I don't know. I mean, I've just got the preponderance of evidence. I've just got a logical framework. You know, those are the weasel word excuses that the people who've taught you this stuff use. Now, you obviously appreciate that, which is good. You're halfway there, Eddie. You're already recognizing that this hasn't got any validity to back it, therefore you must justify that you don't really know. Yeah. Again, your arms are by your side. You're waiting to get a broken nose from this, I'm afraid. And you already know that. I know you know. You know I know. You know that I know you already know this. And we all know that I know that you know that we already know that you know we know you know this. So, given that you know, and we know that you know, maybe talk about flat Earth measurements a bit more than ether, because it's going to end up leaving you in a metaphorical mess on a canvas.
100 miles in the ocean, you shouldn't be able to see anything.
And this is why I'm not being critical. I do know that he did say at the beginning that he didn't know the intricate details. Well, we do know the intricate details, and we do know that you do not know them as well, and that's why we would invite you to come over here so that you do know them. Yeah, take these arguments from us. You repeated etheric nonsense perfectly well through a short amount of time with certain individuals. Come and spend a short amount of time here and get tooled up. So you're not doing backflips off the top rope. You're actually doing a proper chokehold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get that. You must get that feeling. You walk out of that particular fighting course, and even the person that's training you goes, well, yeah, this might not put them on their ass. I mean, you might have to do something else if it doesn't actually work. But don't worry, with good training and lots of discipline, you'll do the backflip first. People will be amazed. No, that's not what we say.
That was a great analogy, Adam.
It was. I've got to hand it to him. It was better than mine. He led off mine, though. I take all credit. No. Anyway. Right. The point is, we're not saying that. Will this put them on their ass? Absolutely. It can only put them on their ass. There's no other outcome. Well, what if they squirm? Yeah, they'll squirm and relinquish their own model. That's to say, they're on their ass on the canvas, beating their own face in. That's what we offer. And we offer a guarantee. Money back. Costs nothing to get this information. It's completely free. No consultation required.
Anything 100 miles, there should be a 6,000-foot curvature, a wall of water.
Should there be? There's another broken nose coming your way. We're sparring now, Eddie, and I'm the one giving it you. We should see Earth curve in the way, Eddie. What are you, a baller? A minute ago, I thought you were a flat Earth, and now it seems you're telling me how much of an Earth curve wall should be in the way. Should it? No. Absolutely not. The claim that we should have an Earth curve edge obstruction was debunked in 2020 with the Black Swan. We can show that it's beyond the limitations of a hill getting in the way, based on their own maths that uses surface level to claim it. We're way beyond this. Surface level in the maths that is utilised to make this claim of C too far No, we just see. We've got eyeballs, we open them, we see things. That's just seeing things. This automatic assumption that there should be a ball in the way is brainwashing. Gotta kick that shit to the curb, Eddie. We just see stuff. Let me give you an example to put it into context. There's two guys stood looking over a bay. And across the bay, let's call it 20 miles away, they can just make out a town. And in the town, right on the beach, there's a clock. Oh, that clock. The guy, the flat earther, looks across and goes, check that out. I can see the clock all the way across the bay. It's miles away. I could almost tell the time on that clock. Amazing what you can see if you just open your eyes and look. The guy next to him, globe believer, says, what the hell are you talking about? That is not a clock. That is a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the geometric reified sphere edge horizon below surface level in the Earth curve maths when we derive it from surface level and eye level calculations that suggest there should be a wall getting in the way of that clock, and it isn't. Therefore, we're seeing too far if we're seeing that clock. We can't see that clock. There's a hill in the way. It's a mirage. Don't be so stupid as to say you just see a clock because you've got a set of eyeballs. We don't see it. It's not really there. It's a mirage. What you're looking at is a projected image from behind an Earth curve wall that is blocking our view, therefore it's not there. How stupid are you? Says the globe believer. Flat Earther looks back in slight disarray. Whoa, that was quite a barrage of information. I just see a clock. There it is. I open my eyes and there it is. I'm not seeing too far. I can see it. Hope that's clear.
But you can target other ships, Navy ships. They look at other ships.
Yeah, that was the thing that Professor Dave got totally wrong. He's saying all those videos and pictures are lies. And you're like, dude, we could go do it right now.
Yeah, that's Dave Standard, isn't it? Those pictures are lies. Oh, right, okay. I mean, why? Why are they lies? Is it like second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, Narnia area we couldn't possibly be to take pictures from kind of lies? Or it's just, they're lies. Why?
No, they don't comport to ball mathematics kind of lies. Therefore, they have to be lies because they don't comport to the geometry that we ascribe to.
What, the geometry that measures Earth flat at surface level and derives a geometric horizon below surface level when you get the calculations of the difference from eye level at altitude with surface level that is flat? Those mathematics, when those mathematics that use a flat Earth to derive them don't match with photography, then the photography that doesn't match with flat Earth originating globe Earth calculations, then the images are fake. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, because you've used those flat Earth measurements to calculate a hill that will know and then provide excuses to why the hill will no longer be obstructing your view. Those ones, yeah. Because of those issues, then we have to question the photography in this case. It has to be fake. That is the standard anti-flat Earth rhetoric. The first thing they do, Eddie, is to go to the authenticity. And as you've highlighted there correctly, wow, that's a really weak argument because we can all just go to the beach and replicate these things. But they'll have you in circles for a bit trying to prove that it's fake.
Just realised something. Do you remember a couple of weeks? Do you remember a couple of weeks ago? I said that Eddie Bravo would text me. What did I tell you? He texted me about. He said, "Would you be willing to debate Professor Dave Explains YouTube channel?" And I said, my reply was, "I've already asked him," and he said no. That was a couple of weeks ago when this came out, so that's presumably why he texted me. He's been discussing the subject. He's obviously given me a quick plug, and then gone, "Oh, that would have been a much better debate if Nathan had been debating Dave." And then he's texted me, "Why aren't you debating Dave instead of Whitsit?" And I've gone, "I've already asked him," and he said no. He's gone, "Oh, bummer." Okay, that's just making a lot more sense now to me. With the timeline of things that have occurred recently.
Oh, just go get that powerful scope, and we'll go do it. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Even okay, so we're on a ball. There's got to be some kind of curvature formula, and the curvature formula.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to knock you for this because it's only something we've been discussing in the last 6-7 months. But you're starting with the position that if we're on a ball, you're kind of begging the question on their behalf. And our suggestion at this stage, because it's new, it is a suggestion, is that you start on the front foot forward rather. You start by declaring Earth is flat because that's how it's measured, rather than the old school, old guard attempted, I'll put that into quotes, debunking of a globe. Well, what we now know in 2024 is that the globe only worked as well as it did because of its origination in flat Earth measurements that can be back engineered into those angles off a plane when you measure the stars. If you start with that as your beginning point, derive circles of equal elevation from Polaris, you can effectively, in simplistic terms, wrap those circles around a ball. There is a lot more to it. Kepler and Huygens and Haversine and lots of other things go into that deception. But that is the long and short of what you're describing. So therefore, it takes the opponent to deny that base measurement. But it's the only reason the globe functions and works as well as it does. Now, when it does fail, for whatever phenomena that isn't Earth curve that they haven't accounted for when they say we're going to see a hill in the way, they want to decry the actual images, as we've just discussed with Prof. Dave. But don't start with
Eddie
this.
doesn't realize
Nearly
there's
there,
new
Neil.
rules of engagement.
Nearly there. But just don't start with this. Start with Earth is measured flat, not if we were on a ball, because that leaves the audience, in the mind's eye of the audience, that's the starting default position, like we see too far, because Earth curve's getting in the way. If we're on a ball, okay, so let's picture us on a ball then. Well, we're in a position now where we can be on the front foot. We can be proactive. Boxing analogy or fighting analogy, moving forward literally on the front foot in your opponent's face, jab and jab and jab and jab and jab, and then haymaker. That's us now. Not stepping back, going, if I take a punch in the face from this opponent, better step back, better deal with how his punch is coming towards me, put up my defensive stance to deal with on this guy's behalf. He hasn't punched you yet. Why are you talking about how you're going to block his punch? He hasn't thrown one yet. So if we're on a ball, is you preemptively blocking a punch that hasn't come.
Formula that the flat Earth movement is on is 8 inches per.
Sorry, go ahead.
You guys might hate me today, but I have to say it, right? That statement obviously is not something that would come from me having conversations with Globers or anti-flat earthers or whatever, right? But that statement itself is a bridge that normies have to cross at some point. I understand Eddie's not a normie, but he's kind of in the normie world as far as this, right? Trying to bring light to this subject, right? Now, what I'm saying is that there is a place, or there's a position that normal Globers or just normies have where they have to cross. It goes from, well, there should be this I don't know, 1,000-foot wall of water here, right? Or it should have some sort of curvature here, to a place where, well, no, it's not there. And they realize that, right? But again, there's levels to this, man. You can't expect everyone out the gate to be like FED out the gate. We've been doing this for a long time. That bridge needs to be crossed.
Okay, we can do this 5 more times, but I'm going to read out a couple of super chats. Excellent show, says Sensual Goat. Had a great laugh. Thanks, Obama. I don't really know what the Obama reference is, but thank you for the super chat. Also, Mike808. I beg of you not to reference or analogize fighting if you ever speak to Eddie. There is not 1 ounce of him that is thinking about that when on this topic. Now, I could be reading that 1 or 2 ways, Mike808. Thank you for the super chat, first and foremost. One is to say that my absolutely appalling knowledge of fighting is so bad that it would make someone who is knowledgeable in fighting cringe if I ever drew an analogy that uses fighting. And I'd probably agree with you. It makes me cringe while I'm doing it. But I'm not doing it because I want to seem like I've got some sort of magical understanding of fighting. I haven't. I've got a very, very basic understanding, as you can tell. But that's sometimes enough to get a message across, to put it into a context where this is a fight. I know Chocolate wants to brace against that and describe him as a normie. And I'm going to take that away and put it into much more general terms and just say it is a debate. That's why my show is called Flat Earth Debate. We talk about the debate being over and how Earth's measured flat here. So how does that make sense? Well, because it is a debate, it's a fight. So then I can take it straight to those analogies. Crap though they may be, yeah? I'm talking about haymakers and jumping off ropes, right? I'm sure he's offended by how crap my analogies are, right? I'm sure I could do better if I knew a bit about fighting. Everyone understands a bloody nose, don't they? Yeah? And that's what we're talking about here. You're talking about stuff that you haven't got any validity for, that has no reference to the actual nature of Earth in terms of an aspect, how it could be measured, versus a shape that we've reified from those measurements. It has no bearing. It's just you letting your arms flop for no reason. Yeah? And when somebody who's an intellectual comes along and asks a couple of key questions, yeah, Eddie's already given us what he'd give in reply. Well, I don't really know. Bye-bye credibility. Yeah? That's a bloody nose, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want Eddie to have a bloody nose. No one wants to see that.
We're a bit more Bruce Lee here, yeah? Because we're trying to teach him the art of fighting without fighting, yeah? We don't need to fight. All we have to do is state facts. And as we stated earlier, the opponent then has to fight themselves. They have to give up certain things to argue, yeah? The fighting's been done by us over 10 years. We're not critiquing, we're offering something to help him not have to fight. Make certain statements, these front foot ones, and the opponent will beat themselves. You don't have to fight. He's got to fight natural law. He's got to fight his own model. He's got to deny his own eyes.
See, that's what you get from the super chat when you've got a really good dedicated audience, someone who can make a good boxing analogy. Thank you very much, Misfit, for the super chat first and foremost, but for the sentiment, which is better than mine. In terms of boxing, come out swinging like Tyson, that it's measured flat, versus dancing around like Mayweather with globe apologies. And then he's got a set of guns that are like Eli's, only white. Excellent super chat. Perfect. Thank you so much. Coolio. Right, should we plod our way through the video? We've not got much left. It was only about a 10-minute clip.
Only not really, just on what I've said. Do you get, you know me, Chocolate, right? I'm not one to stand there slagging somebody. I'm not. It's an appeal, this, yeah? This is a direct appeal. And any critique you're hearing is, no, use this tool, yeah? And don't use that. These
what we're
guys
doing,
are
right, is
yeah?
there must be an analogy where somebody's clearly a talented fighter, but they're just being managed badly and their trainer's not very good. And they're leaving themselves open to wide mistakes that are glaring to any other half-decent trainer. And while they're getting battered, this isn't the circumstance, he's not getting battered, but just in my analogy, somebody else sneaks up to the edge of the ring and just has a subtle word with him. Or when he's leaving the arena, they go, look, man, you're good. Why are you mucking around in this crap dojo? You know, there are a ton of people who want to train you to absolutely annihilate the opponents. And you're dancing around and getting your ass kicked. What are you doing? There must be analogies like that in boxing where people take on new trainers. There's got to be someone out there that knows a good analogy I can put this into by comparison. I'll leave it with you. Talking to the audience.
Per mile square. And that seems to be correct, right? And even if it was off, all right, even if it was off, let's just say that curvature formula is off 8 inches per mile square. Like the first mile, there's 8 inches of curvature. And then the second mile is 64, 8 inches per mile square, right? And then so on and so on. So let's just say it was off. Let's just say, because based on that curvature formula, at 100 miles in the ocean, there should be like 6,000 feet of curvature of water. So you shouldn't be able to see anything that's shorter than 6,000 feet, right? But let's say it was off. Let's say it was way off. And let's say there's it's not 6,000 feet of curvature. It's 1,000 feet of curvature. You still shouldn't be able to see the fucking a ship 100 miles away.
Okay, cool. So because he's got a good grasp on this example, it means I can break down the magic trick for him because I don't have to explain the example itself, because he's obviously got in his mind how that breaks down. Good. So when Eddie's gone through the idea that, let's say there's a mountain that's 7,000 feet, and according to the formula, there should be 6,000 feet obscured of this mountain, leaving the tip. And by coincidence, there's 1,000 foot of snow on the top of this mountain in my example. How coincidentally fortunate for my example. So we can only see the snow according to the curve formula. Okay, let's break that down. In that example, the mountain is being given in feet. So what are we describing? We're describing how many feet can't be seen. Now let me put this to you a different way. If that same mountain, that in this example with Earth curve being claimed to be blocking the mountain at a tune of 6,000 feet, if that mountain was, instead of, let's say, 20 miles away, or 30 miles, or 40 miles, let's say it's 1,000 miles away. Okay. How many feet and inches are the mountain now? Anybody? It's a 7,000 foot mountain at 30 or 40 miles. How many feet is it at 1,000 miles? Anybody?
7,000.
Yeah, I don't have my how much shit shrinks ometer on me.
I'll ask the question again, just pay attention. This mountain is 7,000 feet tall, and we are viewing it and looking at it and assessing it in Earth curve maths 30 miles away. So 7,000 foot mountain, don't rumpus it, nobody answered. I'm repeating it.
I did.
I didn't hear you, Mike buggered up. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Chocolate.
I'm driving a very loud.
No, say again. How high is the mountain, Chocolate, at 1,000 miles away?
7,000.
So it hasn't, hold on. It's 1,000 miles away now. You're telling me it's still 7,000 feet high?
Yes, sir.
No, that can't be right. No, that can't be right. Surely it's changed its size because it's further away, right?
That's because of the word I missed. The word I missed was Earth curve maths. How far away is it in Earth curve maths? I thought you meant in reality, which is why I said I haven't got my...
Eddie Bravo's gone through an example that's explaining how many feet and inches should be missing from a building when it's obscured by a certain bulge of Earth curve, the wall, the hill that gets in the way in the maths. And I'm saying, okay, how does this magic trick work? Right, well, the value in the maths is feet in this example, 7,000 foot mountain. Now that value doesn't change at any distance. So the maths that asserts that the mountain is only disappearing because there's a hill getting in the way doesn't account for the fact that the further away from the hill you are, the smaller the hill becomes. Things get smaller into the distance. That's perspective. But that effect is called Earth curve. How does that work? Well, you keep the value of the item that you're obscuring the same size at all distances. So if you can give it in feet or meters, it doesn't matter if the mountain is 5,000 miles away or 5 million miles away. There's only one cause of it disappearing. Earth curve's in the way. In a perspective view, where perspective is not in any way capable of being accounted for, their maths takes place in a world of orthographic representation. You see the side of your own head and the target at the same time. So therefore, the line between the two can have any number you like put on it. 1 million miles, 5 million miles, 500 million miles. Doesn't matter. The mountain's still 7,000 feet. Now, in reality, when you look at something in the distance, hashtag shit shrinks. Things get smaller into the distance. But if you can ignore that, you can take a differential from surface level, that's a flat plane, and calculate how much obscurity you will receive based on angular calculations. That's the difference based on a dip angle. The difference between eye level and surface level when you raise up in height. That's what they use to calculate a point below surface level to suggest that when you move into the distance or raise in altitude, you'll increase or decrease your field of view. Oh, my bad, you'll have more or less Earth curve in the way. That's how the trick works. Exclude perspective and call it Earth curve. That's how it works. So long as Eddie understands how this argument takes place, with the mountain being a fixed value in feet or meters, he can appreciate that when they make, here's put it a different way, when they ask a flat earther, Globers, why can't I see New York from Ireland? Well, because it's too small to see. No, because Earth curve's in the way. If it wasn't for Earth curve in the way, we'd see forever. Yeah, that mentality has come from the hijacking of perspective. In their mind, if Earth curve weren't in the way, you'd see New York from Ireland. Well, never mind the fact that it'd be miles too small to see. You'd see it because there wouldn't be any Earth curve blocking your view of it. That's what happens when you hijack perspective. You draw out a view that shows New York on the left, Ireland on the right. You write 6,000 miles between the two, or whatever it is. And you say, I can see it. Look, there's a straight line between the two of them. I can see it. Now, if I bend that line, I can't see it. Therefore, Earth curve's the reason I can't see New York from Ireland. No, it isn't. It's too small to see. It's called perspective. But the values of the buildings in New York will be behind Earth curve. This 100-foot building has got how many thousand feet of Earth curve blocking your view of it? No, it's just too small to see. And in order to claim there's Earth curve blocking your view of it, you need to calculate your differential from surface level. You need a flat Earth to measure to make those maths work. So let's start on the front foot. Let's eradicate that entire garbage nonsense that didn't prove flat Earth to anyone and probably confused everyone beyond Eddie's pay grade in terms of an understanding of how Earth curve maths fails. With feet and inches values that aren't being blocked or are being blocked, who cares? We're describing things that don't change with their value in distance terms, aka perspective. Now let's eradicate all of that. Let's chuck it all under the bus because none of it's necessary. We've been doing it for 10 years. How's Earth actually measured? Well, I mean, we could use the Earth curve maths. Where's the measurement? Well, the measurement's of surface level. Oh, really? What are we measuring it with? Well, we're measuring the difference of the parallel eye level at altitude. Okay, so we're measuring the difference of eye level and surface level. That's what we're measuring? Yep. Okay, well, if we measure Earth flat and calculate the difference of how flat that Earth is versus how it looks at altitude, if we can calculate a parallel plane with it at eye level, then I can say we've got this much Earth curve in the way. I'm pretty sure you've just measured a flat Earth to make this how much Earth curve's in the way claim. You just measured Earth flat, their surface level. You just measured it. Let's just say that's not being measured then. Okay? Well, if you relinquish the measurement, you've got nothing to base your claim of Earth curve on. So you fundamentally fail in making this claim then. It's the end of your claim. You're not measuring anything then. Well, let's say we are measuring it. Well, then you're measuring a flat Earth. Welcome to flat Earth. Well, let's say it's not the ground. Well, then you're not proving anything about the ground. End of your claim. Well, let's say it is the ground. Well, you've just measured it flat, so welcome to flat Earth. Notice how this guy's punching himself in the face or staying on the canvas. Yeah? Because your claim of Earth curve starts with a flat Earth measurement. If I point that out first, every single attempt to get it from the canvas and talk about how Earth is curving away from us and feet and inches values that don't change with distance will be obscured by a geometric sphere edge below surface level. Now, we'll need surface level for that claim. And I'm just going to stick with that because that's the end of the argument. That's how we measure Earth. Earth is measured flat. This dojo kills people. We have to warn people who come into this dojo that if you understand how this is working, you're going to be decapitating people. It's very dangerous leaving this dojo. And we're watching you leave fights in defeat. No, we can't stand that. You're a good guy. You don't need this, Eddie. You need better training.
You still said, even if it was off. So explain that. How are we're on a ball? There should be curve. Where's the fucking curve? Where is that?
It's measured flat with surface level. I mean, to answer that question, it's been asked for about 10 years, but I can answer it. Where's the curve? There isn't any. We measure Earth flat. To derive curve, calculate curve, infer curve, we measure Earth flat to derive it. Where's the curve? It's in Earth curve maths. You get it from measuring Earth flat. That's where the curve is. It's in the maths. It's not on Earth. You'd need a flat Earth to claim that you've got Earth curve in the maths. That's where it is. It's only in the maths. In the dojo here, we've had our opponents say that. That was a quote. Earth curve only exists in the maths, end quote, the rumpus. That's because it's a fact. Now, your cohorts haven't told you this, Eddie. You've been hanging around with the bad crowd that don't know how to fight. And they haven't told you that. But Earth curve, where is it? It only exists in the maths, end quote. Globe believer.
So technically, the quote,
No
the geometric horizon only exists in the math.
The geometric horizon, my bad, I said Earth curve. The geometric horizon is Earth curve. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, end quote. Sorry, I hate getting people's quotes wrong because I get so stroppy when people do it to me.
Well, that's
our quote.
That's a great nuance that Eddie should focus on. If you can, first of all, get them to recognize in their claim that the horizon A is geometric and B, geometric commensurate to the leading edge of their ball, they'll then continue to punch themselves in the face. You haven't had a duo, just get them to their claim. And once you've got them, you introduce them to a lovely black swan. It'll keep there. And this is where that we were saying they don't have to punch themselves in the face because of their claim and reality.
Shout out to the price of Adam. He says, measured flat, calculated imaginary geometry curve. I paraphrase that. He says, measured flat, calculate imaginary curve.
I mean, he just nailed him. Austin Wood nailed him on that. And he just didn't have an answer, so he just got Queenie with him.
Yeah.
And, it's just like with these guys, the biggest thing I got to tell most flat earthers when they debate is you can't get emotional. That's how they get you every time. You get overly emotional and you just start being erratic. You just got to stay chill. Because I personally think you have the facts on your side. That's just my personal opinion.
And this is something I wish would happen. I wish a flat Earth guy and a science, modern science based person would just
notice the hesitation while that garbage spewed out of him. A modern science based person, what, like a scientist? That would be somebody who ascertains the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena by formulating a scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis, and then actualizing that hypothesis in the form of an experiment with a validated alternative hypothesis outcome. A person who does that, you'd like to see one of them against a flat earther, would you? No, that's not what you mean, is it? You mean you'd like to see one of your priests who calls himself a scientist and talks about globe Earth against one of us? Somebody in high esteem who comes up with just so stories and calls himself a scientist. One of them. Like maybe a science communicator. Yeah? I mean, we've debated those. We do it quite frequently. There's plenty of clips you can go and listen to of science communicators coming to the channel. Yeah? And self-confessed scientists. Often claiming to be actual professors with accreditation from Toco Tobago. I mean, nevertheless, we've had them. Did you think they won? Did it matter what their qualifications were? I mean, an actual scientist isn't what we're talking about anymore. Someone who adheres to the scientific method and employs cause and effect reasoning with hypothesis construction and actual experimentation to form theory. That isn't what we're talking about when you say you want to see a science-type person debate a flat earther. You don't know what science is.
just agree on something like, okay, let's go do this. And if this goes my way, then, Earth's flat. And if this, like a experiment, they both can agree on if.
Right, experiment. Dum-dum. What you've just described is called a false dichotomy. You can agree on this being an outcome, I can agree on that being an outcome, and then we go down, we suppose what might happen and see if it does or not, and then one or other side wins. You think that's an experiment? Oh, you're as dumb as Pastor Duffy, aren't you? That's not an experiment, my friend. An experiment is the assertion of cause and effect through systematic experimentation based on hypotheses. It's a hypothesis actualization. That's what an experiment is. I don't know what La La Land you think an experiment is. But this isn't that. Yeah? Well, I've got an explanation. Let's go and have a look at something. See if it does something or not. Crap standard. Let's explain it again. Science is a method. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. Step 2, formulate hypothesis. Step 3, actualize your hypothesis. Step 4, formulate theory. Step 1, observe something happening. I wonder why that happened after you see a phenomena in nature. Step 2, suppose a cause of the phenomena you observed in nature. I think if I vary this, I'll cause the phenomena. That's a hypothesis, an if and then statement yet to be validated. Comes with a null. The antithesis of your statement. If A, not B. I think if I vary this, it won't happen. That's a hypothesis, step 2. Step 3, vary your supposed cause and see if it causes the effect. That's an experiment. Variation of suppositional influencer to see if it causes the dependent variable, otherwise known as naturally occurring phenomena. That's an experiment.
If the result goes a certain way, it would indicate this about the nature of where we live.
No. If you cause the effect you observed in nature, you validate your alternative hypothesis. You don't know what science is.
And
Yeah,
then go
real
out and do
simple.
that. I wish there was more of that.
Yeah,
You,
just
you wish there was more of what? False dichotomies?
good. Because you can't really rely on curvature measurements on land. We got mountains, we got
There isn't any. There isn't any curvature measurement on land or sea. There is no curvature measurement. Curvature measurement doesn't exist. Curvature calculations derived from flat plane measurements only exist in Earth curve maths.
valleys.
Yeah, it's,
the
it's too
land is
complicated. Yeah.
But on the water, it should be fucking precise. In the water, in the ocean. If we're on a fucking ball, there shouldn't be any fucking valleys and mountains in the ocean. That shit should be a fucking ball, and that's where you should find the curvature. You need to figure out what the hell, if you don't think it's 8 miles.
No, the surface of the ocean is measured as a plane also. You know, the depths are with respect to sea level. In other words, you've got a value that's below it. But the 0 point, the reference, is flat. Everywhere. Doesn't matter if you draw a line in Google Earth Pro for an elevation profile and start at one side of the world that's known and put the point on the other side, and you've got a massive amount of ocean in between. You can run your line along it and it'll tell you how much it deviates from a 0 point. That's a flat Earth. That's how elevation's described. That's how it's measured. Earth is measured flat. To describe how deep those oceans are, and how deep those oceans are will vary, is with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. That's the only way you can describe it. It's a flat Earth proof. Saying that you should find the curvature under the sea. Under the sea. No, that's also measured flat.
Per 8 inches per mile square, then what is it? And then let's figure it out.
8 inches per mile squared is a oversimplification of the curve maths formula. But the curved maths formula is the assertion we have a geometric horizon, a geometric horizon below surface level being flat and required in order to derive this curve from.
Listen,
Is that
Sam,
100
leave the
miles?
gangster slang to me.
Say one more time, Neil.
I said, listen, Sam, leave the gangster slang to me.
There should be some fucking curvature. They're talking, the same fucking people are using boats going over the horizon as proof of curvature. Yeah. That's like 3 miles, dog. That's like 3 or 4 miles. That's not even close.
You can't really moan at them. You used it to claim there isn't any. So the reason you're saying that's the sea too far, we're not having boats go over, there should be 6,000 feet of missing mountain, that's the contrapositive to their positive assertion. So if you're going to use it as a debunking, how could you possibly object to them offering it up as the positive claim in the first place? Should it only be us that say we see too far? They say we see Earth curve in the way. I mean, that Earth curve's derived from flat Earth measurements.
100 miles. So you're saying, so they believe, they still, but that's the easiest one to debunk. The ships going over the horizon. That is kindergarten shit. Because with the naked eye, you see the shit going over the horizon, you know.
I mean, he said the horizon several times now. You can't have a horizon on a globe either. See slope-intercept formula. Or if you want to see an explanation in it in videography form, type in something like the slope-a-dope.
Does Eddie watch QE? Does he even watch us anymore?
I don't know. I assume he watches certain stuff.
And it looks like, oh, it's going over the curvature. Okay, so you look at that through a telescope or any kind of zoom lens. It brings it back. How are you going to bring it? How are you going to something going to go around a corner, then you bring it back with the zoom? It's fucking retarded. You can't
really argue with that. I mean, it's when you postulate it in the same way as QE's postulated it in the modus tollens format, where you beg the question for them. If Earth curves blocked your view of something, then you can't ever retain the view of it if there's something in the way of it. So therefore, that argument, it could do with a bit of polishing up. It's a very old argument, but it does still stand true. If something's behind a wall, no amount of zoom's
I heard
bringing it back.
QE say the other day that it doesn't always work.
It's not that bad. It doesn't need to stand up, because this is the bit where I'd agree with what Chocolate and Eli were saying. This is just guys talking now. So, yeah, we'd love to tool you up more, but it's not a point of critique. He's bringing up their arguments now. We were critiquing him for not going front foot forward, but as I've always said, at some point, you're going to start to deal with their arguments, which is why it's nice to get certain things down first, because then you can just make them punch themselves in the face. But when you are doing this is as 2-3 years ago. Maybe we were slightly more polished even then, but the point is we're still dealing in this level of argumentation in this same methodology. So I wouldn't critique this, because as I started with, this is kind of what the general chat is, and that's what this is. This isn't a debate. So this is kind of introducing your mate in the pub to it.
Sure, but he's still wrong. Not every time that happens. I mean, on most occasions you can do it, but not every single time. All they have to do is bring up one example of it not happening, and then you're screwed.
Told you.
But that's not really the point, though. The point is that when a glober will express that something has gone beyond the curve, and then you can bring it back, or we're seeing it beyond the curve. Well,
sure.
Any normal person understands that you can't take a picture of something around the corner, right? Like, that's not a thing that happens in reality.
If only someone took that premise and maybe got something that actually demarcated the distance, so we knew exactly how far the horizon was, and then showed with their maths how far the horizon was with respect to something that you couldn't argue about how far it was. If only someone could do that.
Yeah, I know. But I understand what you're saying, Chocolate, and I understand what Adam's saying. I'm just dealing with what he just said. Right now, there's many ramifications here downstream, but within the context of the words that just came out of his mouth, that's incorrect. Follow?
Yeah, some things do disappear. Some things do get too small to view. Some things go beyond the angular resolution of your camera, and it's beyond the resolution limit of your zoom as well. So, yes.
Tides, waves. He's talking about on the ocean, right? Or on lakes.
Yes.
So, go ahead, Adam, if you want to get in here.
If he was genuinely metaphorically in training, I'd say, look, all you need to appreciate at this point is those maths. Number one, use a flat earth measurement. That's the first thing that you need to get to grips with. If you do end in the wrangle dangle, okay, fine. At this point, understand that the maths themselves are the only example of Earth curve, are using a flat Earth measurement, and do have values for feet and meters, depending on what you're using, that don't change with distance. There's no perspective in this. There's no reason for anything to disappear but for the fact that there's a claim that Earth curve, when derived from flat Earth measurements, is getting in the way. As long as you understand some basics at this point, that's what I would hope that Eddie would leave with.
You can't zoom in on something that went around went over a curve. Yeah. So how do you explain? Then they go, refraction. I go, yo, that's 3 fucking miles. That's 4 miles. You were arguing about 3-4 fucking miles, refraction or whatever. You can't. You're telling me the ship went over the curve. Then you're saying, oh, when you bring it back, oh, refraction. What the fuck is it? Then what is the curvature formula? You tell me the curvature formula. We'll test it on the ocean. The one.
So refraction is the simplified version of my clock in the distance. I say I see a clock. Glober says, no, you're not seeing a clock. It's refraction. In this case, although he hasn't explicitly stated that, the reason he's got that one-word rebuttal is because of the black swan, the argument that I was sarcastically pointing out in terms of the oil rigs and their set distance and the ability to say exactly how far the horizon is beyond. All of those things are in the black swan. Yeah?
One we got is 8 inches per mile square. If it's fucking 1 inch per mile square, you still wouldn't be able to see shit 100 miles away. So what are you going to do now?
It's crazy, dude.
Just common sense.
And it's just like, it's just so many people. They're talking about this with archaeology.
So
that's the end of the clip.
Yeah. So,
just before you do, hold that thought, please. Okay, so as is always the case, this more than ever, because it's a friendly, it's Tinfoil Hat Clips, which is a new channel. So please let Tinfoil Hat Clips know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And hopefully that'll help that new YouTube channel in the YouTube algorithmic love. It's nice to be able to actually make a genuine difference to a brand new channel, because Tinfoil Hat Podcast is far bigger than Flat Earth Debate, I'm perfectly honest. But by the same token, in this instance, his new channel isn't. So we can actually genuinely make an impact, which is why I said at the beginning, look, there's a good chance that they might actually listen to this response, because there's going to be a bit of growth, hopefully, for percentage-wise, their tiny little channel that they've just started. I'm sure it'll massively outstrip even Flat Earth Debate as a clips channel very quickly. But right here, right now, you as an audience member can actually make a difference to that channel and hopefully to this channel, if they ever return the love and put a link to Flat Earth Debate when they talk about what we've talked about today. If they were to do so, I'd hope they'd put a link to our video like we're putting a link to their video. So go and let Tinfoil Hat Clips know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link whizzing its way by right now in the live stream chat. And just leave a polite comment, subscribe, leave the video a like, explain that we've gone through it with a fine tooth comb and given our critiques, talked about dojos, talked about bloody noses. It's good fun stuff. Encourage them to come and watch. Hopefully they'd share the love back. Hopefully that's enough time for people to actually have done this. I mean that, by the way. If you're watching live, actually click on the link. Don't just think eventually this call to action will run out. Just do it. Go and click on it, leave him a comment, leave him a like and subscribe. Tell him I've sent you. Nathan Oakley 1980. That genuinely is enough time for at least one or two of you to have gone and subscribed to Tinfoil Hat Clips. Good fun responding to that. I enjoyed that. Did you guys enjoy that?
I did. The thing I'd like, I'm alluding to what Chocolate was saying. This was not a debate. This was actually really encouraging from a flat Earth point of view. These guys are here to learn from Eddie about flat Earth. He's the most knowledgeable guy on flat Earth in the room. Yeah, that's encouraging, and that's also part of the frustration, Eddie. Yeah, which is why we're offering to tool you up. And in the same respect to these guys as well, if you're genuine, come over, Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, over to the debates. You'd be welcome. We'd love to have you on and deal with stuff for you. Even if we are starting out with a little bit of anti-bulletproof, we'd love to start you on the right foot so that you do know the Earth is flat. But it struck me as quite a genuine. It certainly wasn't littered with anti-flat earthers butting in, was it? It was not that you probably would dare to Eddie Bravo, but you know what I mean. But to me, I thought that was really positive and shows how the flat Earth message has got out there and how much interest he's gathering.
Well, I think the guy with the glasses has got a lot of anti-flat Earth potential in him. And in that respect, if he did toddle along and got involved with the discussion, started to put a few globe claims to us, thinking he's jabbing us, and then ends up copping it with a spinning back fist. I can't think of any better metaphors. Anyway, that's a lesson learned. When you are defeated in the ring, even if it's in just a sparring match, the whole point of doing it is to learn. Now, yeah, you're going to catch one here and there. It's a contact sport. But you learn from that, don't you? You catch it in the sparring, in the training session, so that you don't throw the title match. That's the whole point, isn't it? So in this respect, even if they were very staunch anti-flat earthers, So yeah, come in and taste your own blood for a few minutes. See how you get on in this ring.
The thing is, there's only pain and blood, isn't there? Because they don't use the magic word in a dojo. If in this dojo, right, you go, oh, right, I accept that point. I was wrong. Right? Suddenly all the pain, the blood disappears instantly and we move on.
Also, we've got nice metaphors with the dojo master. I don't know if that's what you call it, right? But QE is basically the dojo master. And there's no quarter given for anything. So yesterday we had Brian, but the other Brian from Discord. And he's just, throwing a few things out, chit-chatting. We're doing what they're being claimed to be doing. Just guys having a chat about Flat Earth. Yeah, don't do that around the dojo master. Don't care whose side you're on. QE, this guy's a paying customer. He's been part of the dojo for 3 years. Please don't break his nose. I've already broken it while you were talking to me. The standards are high, right, QE? Yes, sir. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you're affirming this. It's a very important point. It would be embarrassing if I was talking to an empty microphone. Unfortunately, you're with me 100% of the way. Alrighty then.
It's gone.
Go on, Adam.
I don't want to end it like that in case you do. I mean, like I said, I hope this is taken as an appeal to these guys. All of them, even if you want to come over and have a little spar, that'd be fine. If you've got an argument you want to bring over, I'd encourage you to do so. I mean, I'd look forward to it. What's the phrase?
Any more for any more?
Go if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah. Any more for any more on this video? So I'm going to be rounding out if you don't. Discord? Anybody got any comments? Oh, well, what a disappointment. On that note, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Jupiter's panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Politics tomorrow. I can tell you're all very excited about that. Are you and QE around for book stuff, Adam?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully, I'm hoping we'll have a little bit of a round out. People will actually talk about what we were just doing, rather than me ending the after show immediately.
Oh, I put a final chapter or a final paragraph.
I saw. Very good. Very good. I saw it. I read it. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want to do a bit of it now? We could do, like last time, we could do a little bit in the after show. I don't think it hurts. It's going to be radically altered anyway. So it's not like anyone's even going to get a sneak preview when they hear what I originally wrote, what was originally edited by the producer, and now is being critiqued by us to re-edit it again. You know what I mean? The end result won't be what we do now, but I'm happy to sort of leak a little bit of what we're doing just so people get a feel for it. Are you there, Adam? He's at work at the moment.
No, I'm back. It's Thursday now, but I've just nipped out at the end of the show. I said I got a sense of do a bit more of the book. Was that?
Yeah, well, I quite liked it. I listened back yesterday to what we did, although it was a bit of a cluster screw, which the process generally is. But I enjoyed listening back to it, going, oh yeah, it's good that I know you especially are living it at the moment each evening when we're spending 5, 6, 7 hours on it, night after night after night. But the audience haven't got a clue. But I've mentioned it, so for them to see at least a little bit of the working process. Now we're near the end. We're what, 4/5 of the way through the book, I would say.
For our first edit, there'll be a number of edits after that.
Exactly. So, like I say, I don't feel like we're leaking something that's going to be the end product anyway. We've got the base skeleton that we're adding the bones to, meat to, but in some instances we amputate.
Good word.
I mean, I'll have to check. Give me a minute.
I don't know what he's checking.
What do you have to check?
Maybe we shouldn't ask such a question. What did we talk about today? Oh, it's Eddie Bravo, wasn't it? I better make a thumbnail, otherwise I'll lose track of time.
Yeah, I can. It's cool. I'm allowed wine early.
Oh,
so that
hooray!
means I'm able to book with you. So I can't review the book without a glass of wine.
No, Clarkson's opened a pub. It's only an hour away from me. I'm really tempted to go down. I don't even drink, but I'd be tempted to drink because that's presumably all there is to do there. You know, but just because then I can say to my wife, well, you know, we'll go down and have an alcoholic drink, which is something neither of us very, very rarely do. So I'm tempted to go down to Jeremy Clarkson's pub.
Pub now. I know we had a farm, and we had a pub.
He had a farm, then a restaurant. Now he's opening a pub.
Do you know this person?
The guy who works with on the farm brews his own cider, and I can only assume that James May, the other guy, does the same. So I'll just end up trading with each other and having various Top Gear pub beers, which I think is just cool. I like Top Gear.
Do you know the person?
Do I know them? Only from TV, from like a car show.
So what's the significance?
No significance. It's just one of those things where I've got a lot of admiration for that particular host. I liked watching their shows, and now they're opening a pub that's local, relatively local to me. So why not? Why shoot bows?
Fair enough. That has nothing to do with archery. Don't even try it.
Why do it though? Just for fun, right?
Why do it?
Right, just
No,
for fun.
why go to a bar an hour away when you don't even drink? There has to be some other motivating factor. It doesn't have anything to do with archery, for God's sake.
Yeah, but now I've got you focused on that, so I don't have to justify my non sequitur.
I know what you did. It was clumsy and feeble.
Very. That adds to the humour.
Get him, Kiwi.
Nathan, did you say you like Top Gear?
Top Gear, yeah.
And the guy, that was outside the barn. They were taking up the rockets at the farm, and the farm he was talking about was making a lot of thrust. Have you seen that? He was talking about the farm outside the shooting place. The rocket was going up.
Oh,
it was a big farm.
Farm and rocket. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. So I'm going to say no.
Okay. The sound of it and the thrust of the wind from the farm, from the station, they were taking up the rockets. That was on Top Gears. The guy was talking about it.
The only thing I can think of that you're talking about from Top Gear was when they launched a Reliant Robin, like it was the Challenger or like.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it was a big farm, and was a lot of wind. That's maybe they are doing to get the smoke go around and so on and so on. It was a big farm.
Yeah, I remember. I think I
Anyways.
might have covered that very episode about 7 or 8 years ago, after covering NASA and claiming, or I was suggesting, that what they actually sent up was a scale model. It wasn't what they roll out on the tracks that's bigger than a building, that's enormous. So it looked to me, by way of scaling things with fences and people and various other objects that were in the frame, that what they were sending up was maybe a 1/3 scale model. And then Clarkson comes out and shows that with the Reliant Robin on the back of it. And you go, but for the fact that it's a Reliant Robin, it just looks equally as good as the launches did back in the 80s. It looks the same. You don't know because there's nothing to scale it with. Oh, and then there's a reliant robin on it, making you acutely aware that it's obviously nowhere near the size. But up it goes, and the smoke goes everywhere, and there's a guy holding a remote control flying it. You're like, so that's how you do it then, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? Yes, and therefore he was talking about the fan, all of the thrust to let the smoke go everywhere around, and so on and so on. And people are far away from it, so they cannot see it or understand the aspect of it. But there was a big fan there, and he was describing this fan and the power of it. Why should they have a fan around the place they are shooting up the rocket? That is a big question,
Clarkson
right?
often gets involved in these sorts of things. So I recently saw a video from, I think it was maybe late 90s, early 2000s, where he's talking about a cloud generating machine. He's just showing it. Here's this cloud making machine. It's awesome. Watch this. Presses a button. Enormous amount of clouds fill the sky. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, with this we can control the weather.
Yeah, they might be able to control the weather somehow, but yeah, it's very, very strange, everything. But what I really want to talk about is where do you think the 3959 radius comes from?
Minimum elevation angle to Polaris. It has to get the mathematics to work with the angles.
That's not only that. Yeah, okay, but that's not only that. Why do you think the radius stops with 3959?
Because that's whether you can't see Polaris anymore. If you're suggesting that's above the top end of a sphere and you've got a physical sphere edge blocking your view, if you're going to reverse engineer it into a ball, you've got to have those two things match. The outside edge of the ball can only have one minimum. Now, if you're going to base the mapping system on Polaris, and as I've got on screen now, stretch that system around the ball, the two must match. But that means your minimum angle to Polaris must be the equator. It's the only way it's capable of back engineering itself onto a globe. QE explained this 5 years ago to me, and I never understood it. Just never made any sense. When they were, not 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So Black Swan comes out. It could be a bigger ball. Why can't it be a bigger ball? Well, it's set in stone. Why is it set in stone? Well, it must match all of the measurements. Why can't it be bigger? I just didn't get it. But yeah, they've got to be able to reverse engineer the angles off a plane onto the globe with Haversine conversion.
Okay, but
to project the points through the globe.
You have to listen to me now. There is something other there you have to take in. That is the sun circle, how far the sun going in a radius. You can use 0.14. That is a pi. That is a circle. And if you really use that, then you will understand why we have people are talking about point, and we have continents, and then the circle, and the ice shore, because the sun is not going wider.
I'm not going to do that with you. If you're having a poke, just don't, because you know where that's going to go, right? But just let me agree. Just let me agree. Yes. Just hold on, Johnny. Let me agree. Brian would be better off explaining this, but yes, with the exception of one thing, which is the analemma, which they then tilt the entire model to account for it. But yeah, in essence, yes.
So
you're talking about flat plane measurements of the sun, flat plane measurements of the Polaris star, and flat plane systems of latitude and longitude put onto a grid to represent how the movement of the light corresponds with the ground below it. Yeah, you need a flat Earth for all of this.
Yes, that is exactly what we are doing, and that I'm telling you. That is a correlation between the Polaris and how far you can take the elevation angle from the sun. That is 3959 circle around the Polaris. So the so-called radius of that they will say of the Earth is the radius of the sun.
I don't know that's 100% accurate. Like I say, it's out because of
looks like that. It's lucky.
It's not because it's not perfect because of Kepler's analemma is the reason they've reverse engineered elliptical orbits and axial tilt is because of this discrepancy. So you can't just say, well, it's just going around in a circle. It's moving across the seasons, isn't it? Whereas Polaris on the other hand is just fixed. So to develop a grid system, that
Polaris is fixed. Polaris is fixed, and the sun is going around the Polaris in a systematic.
Let me just ask Brian because he's here now. Let me just ask him. Johnny's suggesting that the motion of the sun gives us radial value for globe, and I'm saying I don't think so, but Brian would know better.
No, the radius comes directly from the perversion of the latitude and longitude grid. That's measured from Polaris.
Yeah, but that is a circle also. If the sun circle, it is a circle that they are claiming, and the circle, it's not an orbit circle. It's just a flat circle of the sun radius. How far the sun can go.
No.
The area, the sun area.
Within they're just arbitrary points on the latitude and longitude grid. That the radius doesn't come from that. The radius comes from taking the latitude and longitude grid. If you imagine all the south ends of the latitude and longitude grid being made to meet underneath the north ends that are already meeting, that gives you a sphere. And you just take the radius of that in nautical miles and convert to it.
Okay, then I will counter to you. I'll say, of course, the sun has a radius. And what do you think the radius of the sun is?
The radius of the sun. No,
the radius of the sun itself. Hold on. Do you mean hold on, Brian? Do you mean the radius of the journey?
I'm not talking about the sun itself. I'm talking about the span of the sun. Maybe I'm saying wrong.
Yeah, you mean
I'm not talking about the sun itself.
Yeah, you're talking about the diameter of the edge of the journey it takes. But in terms of how that matches with something you can
the journey,
measure,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Brian's just said that's arbitrary when you match it to something that does have a fixed reference. So when you take it with respect to latitude, it's moving all over the place. That's not what gives you radius. I'm sorry.
The sun is changing.
It's giving you the area, how far the area of the sun. If we can find it out, it is 3959. How far from the central point to the biggest radius that the sun can go? The radius is a circle. And if you can find it out that it is 3959, then everything is open. How they are done this, how it is done, and for me, it's a big thing to look into.
Yeah, but Johnny, you don't think that you can get a more accurate reading from something, trying to get an angle from something that's not really moving in the sky, as opposed to something that's all over the place? You know what I mean?
I don't understand what you... No, I don't. What do you mean?
What do I mean? You don't think that they can get a more accurate reading from a star like Polaris that's literally sitting in the north where it is all the time, as opposed to something like the sun that's always moving? That you're always going to get a different reading from depending on where you are. You don't think it would be more accurate for Polaris? Okay, that's all I mean.
But that is accurate for every reading, because that is the central point that you make every measurement to, and how far you are. But how far is the sun going from the central point? And how far is the sun from the central point? Because the sun is not going just the smallest ring around the Polaris. They are taking the trip around the Polaris.
We got it.
70 or 80 degrees.
Oh my God, we got it. Yeah, you can plot out points where its GP is, and then infer that as its radial value on the ground and plot an arbitrary sphere at its maximum. Number one, that maximum will be much bigger than 3959.
Okay.
But
How do you know that? How can you say that?
Just based on its GP positions with respect to what we know about how it does function on the map. Either way,
maybe the
Johnny,
sun be
either way,
6,000 miles.
Either way, it isn't where you get radius for a globe. It's not those points aren't wrapped around. The outside edge, the equator, is the minimum elevation to Polaris. Those latitude lines that work their way up the globe are latitude lines. That is how it's back engineered. You can say it's with the. It isn't.
Let me give you proof.
No,
Johnny.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to find
what
out
is the length of one
why they are
longitude
using
line?
3959.
Johnny, what is the length of one longitude line?
The longitude
In
line
nautical
is
miles.
just that's a nautical mile, 1 degree or 1 minute for 1 degree. I mean, of a circle.
No, that's not what I asked you, Johnny. This is really difficult. Nathan, this is. I don't even fully know what he's actually asking. He's talking about the sun, then he's talking about the globe radius. I don't know what he's actually asking.
He's just asking open questions.
I'm asking how far do you think the sun can go?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know what the sun is, Johnny.
Yeah, we don't know what it is.
I don't know what the sun is to know, like, how far it can go. When you raise an altitude,
it's not about the sun. It's about where how far the sun can shine. How far can the sun shine? We have to know that. We have to be able to answer this question.
Look at the Gleason's. Look at the bottom of the Gleason's map. He gives a claim on that. He claims the sun can't shine any further than 80 degrees south on the 31st of December. That's the furthest out that the sun could shine, according to Gleason. Now, other than that, I have nothing else. I honestly don't know.
What is the radius over 80 degrees from the north, from the 66 or 60 or 70 or 80 degrees in north and 80 degrees to south? What is the radius of it? What's the widest radius?
What do you mean by radius? There's only a radius of a circle or a sphere.
We have to know that. We have to answer it.
Hold on. He's asking it, but we can only give him an answer based on the as it is map. But then we're stretching out latitude lines beyond the point of what they're originally measured with, and distorted. So beyond that point, you don't know, Johnny. We don't have an accurate map to get a comparison to plot it with. I've tried. We've tracked the sun. Yeah? And it's out. It's distorted and wrong. Johnny, I'm just trying to explain to you the answer. We don't know is the honest answer. Now, it's not to say that your question's not admirable. Well, how big is the the widest extent of a circle if we infer that it is one? Well, it's an inference, but given our limited knowledges of the sun, it's for us a step too far to start suggesting that we know, especially if we base what we're going to give you as an answer on the as it is map. Yeah, I'm just going to shift uncomfortably. I'm going to go, I don't know.
Johnny, if you want a basic, let me give you a basic,
Brian, just let him respond.
Johnny.
I just want a response there. Because
you, Johnny, you.
We are able to find it out. If we just go so far south we can, then we now know how far the sun can reach. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah? Yeah, Brian.
Yeah. If you just wanting to know on the Earth the biggest radius it makes from the center point, then you have to pre-assume certain things. But if you pre-assume certain things, you just multiply 113.4 113.4 is degrees by 60, and that'll get you a nautical mile radius. That's based off of the latitude and longitude grid. You have no guarantee that of atom. These questions are all about something that we have no control over, Johnny.
Yeah, we have control if we are able to go so far. Then we can take real measurements.
Yeah, I would
then
agree
we
with
know how far
Yes,
it is.
I would agree with you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that is very important.
Yeah, you might be the one to do it, Johnny. Please tell us if you do.
Maybe I'm
You're
too
a seafarer,
old for
Johnny.
it.
You could do it.
Again, Brian?
Yeah, I can do it,
I'm
but
saying Johnny is a seafarer.
there's younger men.
He's an ex-ship's captain. He is someone who could do it.
We're not saying
Yeah,
you
of course I
should do
can
it. We're
do
not
it,
saying
but-
you should be the one to do it. We're being a bit facetious. It is something that could be done. There's no reason why not. Yeah.
I don't think I'm not the best English speaker, and so on and so on. So
I'm agreeing with you.
Send somebody else. Thank you. I don't know if I say thank you, but I say thank you anyways. Okay.
Because we often disagree because you talk about ether a fair bit. Well, that's all good. Right. Shall I round out this after show then? I'm going to.
Did you go over the new grift?
What's the new grift? My book?
It's the private room dinner party with Boy Zero Sky Grifter and Hanoi Jaren at $250.
So what?
I'll tell you what, $1,500, I'll do you a lap dance.
I had this very conversation earlier with Craig, who by coincidence is on the panel right now at OK Computer, and he had the same exact attitude as me. It's just as outrageous for me to turn around to Craig, who's working fixing people's computers, and say, "You want to charge for your time?" What an outrage! Yeah, he does. Yeah, he charges for his time. Yeah, and his knowledge and his
it's not
skill.
the same.
Yeah,
That's a fair comparison. He knows what he's doing with computers. These guys are talking crap. What's
How do
wrong
you
with
know?
you, Nathan?
It's not analogous.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's
Nathan,
unjustified.
you have to stop.
I'm not saying it's unjustified to attack the crap and call out the crap for being crap. Now, if the crap is being used and conning money out of people with the crap, then yeah, absolutely, you call out the grift. That is then a grift. Now, you don't have
What
to
is the
identify it
sequence?
as a grift, but you can at that point. What I'm saying is, someone charging for their time, if he might be a really skilled counsellor, I don't know, and I don't care. You can charge for your time.
Yeah, we
Being
got
rumpused.
Yeah, we got it the first time. It's not analogous.
Exactly. They're charging for some their company. They're charging for their company, and they also, in some instances, are claiming to have secret information. Go on, Adam.
So that's that. It depends. Are you being charged for private time to be given information that you will not be, that is not available elsewhere? Or are you being charged to come along like an OnlyFans customer to just meet somebody famous or get off for whatever reason you want to freely spend your money, knowing that the only thing you're going to get is a bit of time with this person? Well, then that's absolutely fine. I'd quite happy if somebody said to me, "Adam, here's 500 quid. Well, can I just talk to you for an hour?" I'd probably do it for free, but I wouldn't have an objection because that's all. Yeah. If they said, "Adam, here's 10,000. Tell me the secrets of flat Earth," I'd say I can't do that. Everything I know is out there for free. What are you doing it for, and what are you selling? And if all you're selling is a conversation with me because you want to weigh in, or you want to pretend to your mates that you've spoke to the great Jaren and that means something to you, then so be it. If his kudos has some merit to somebody else that they want to spend their own money, right, that's fine. If they're being mugged off and told they'll get some additional information, some greater insight, that's a very different matter.
Fair enough. Brian sent me a message, and I want him to reiterate his sentiment, if that's okay with Brian.
I actually, when you said, when you were going to round out, I was trying to stop you. Like, yeah, because I saw you, what you said to me. Yeah, if you don't stop trying to defend Jaron Campanella, people are going to lose faith in you and lose trust in you. And if they lose trust in you, you might go, I don't care. If they lose trust in you, they'll start losing trust in the people around you. Now, I don't want people to lose trust in me and start seeing me as some possible shill because you're defending a lawyer and a lowlife who's your enemy. So
Fair enough.
I don't want to be dealing with that. If you don't care about it, then that's fine. But you have to understand, you represent us.
What's he what? I only saw a bit on screen. Can somebody answer my question? Is he selling just his time, i.e., come and spend an hour on Skype with me, it's this much, or is he selling additional knowledge? What's going on?
Who cares? They're scamming bastards. All of them.
No, that's the point of
Let me answer
distinction,
you.
whether it's scam or not.
Let me answer you. There's various things that he's selling. He's selling counseling. He's selling how to be a videographer and skills in making videos. He's selling 15 minutes of his time for $3 or $5 or something. And he's selling a secret for $400. The big secret that, you didn't know how to put it out into the general media, but he will let it out to select people for $400. That's what he's selling. There you go. Now you know.
Then that's a scam.
The big secret.
You need to expose the scam.
The talk to me for 5 minutes, absolutely fine. Here's how to do videography, fine, yeah. But here's the big secret that's not out in the realm, and you have to pay for that. That is not fine.
You need to expose the scam if he's doing a scam. So you need to pay him the money, find out what he says, and then expose him.
That's a fair point. Yeah. He's not getting any of my fucking money.
That's just what I was thinking. Well, I'm not giving him any money. Sorry, Jaron.
That in of itself is the scam, okay? And the thing that is in opposition to this so-called community, to be pimping additional truth for payment, it goes against everything that means we could call ourselves a community.
Then you need to point out to everybody that there isn't any secrets.
We don't know because we've got to pay 400 quid.
Yeah, Jeremy,
validate that.
$400.
Because
we'll start a GoFundMe then.
I love it. Yeah.
So Nathan, about what I said to you.
What about it?
What's your response?
Oh, you want me to react to it? Oh, that's fine.
Yes, I want to have. I'm sure the audience wants to hear a response. They don't want to hear just like
okay, fine.
No response.
I didn't think it needed one because I thought I'd already justified it previously, which is to say that when you say, well, you're my representative and I don't want to look bad because you're losing trust by defending Jaron. Well, let's go with that term, defending Jaron. I see him as the same as you see me. He's a representative, somebody who's built up respect in the community and now has a potential to do harm to the community. Therefore, it seems in my interest, like it's in your interest when you're talking to me, to appeal to him in the exact same way you're appealing to me. The only difference is you're saying that he's attacking you while you're trying to achieve the greater good. Yeah, he is. And that makes it harder to justify for me, but I still feel I can justify it. As soon as I can't, and it's getting pretty close to that, I'll be honest, then I'll have no defence. But at this point, he still is in, I assume for at least some people, a good stature and worthy of defence. Somebody was in the comments yesterday. Jaron's always offered these sorts of things.
It's probably Jaron. That's probably Jaron in your chat. Yeah. Listen, right? I don't think you understand this. It's not about whether the time is coming whether you can't defend him anymore. The time might come prior to that where people start losing losing trust in you. Now, people don't have trust in Jaron Campanella, and they haven't had for a long time. And the amount of people that don't have trust in him has significantly, sorry, I can't say the word, significantly grown, right? Especially in recent times, but it was growing anyway. So don't let the point where you go, I can't defend him anymore, be after the point where people start going, I don't trust Nathan Oakley. Because why do you keep defending? This is what people are going to. Why does Nathan Oakley keep trying to defend Jaron Campanella when it's obvious that Jaron Campanella is not someone you can trust? That he must be working with him. And what about those people with Nathan Oakley? Are they all in on the same scam? Are all of them trying to suppress information? Or all of them working for the same group or something? That's where people's minds are going to go.
Well, they might think that about you.
They will if you keep on defending Jaron Campanella.
I'm only joking. Yes, I get your point. I'm not disagreeing with you either. And I'm saying there will come a point where it's indefensible. You're saying, yeah, but if you carry on to that point, you might have destroyed your own reputation without realizing it. You might be thinking that you're going for the greater good when actually people just start distrusting you. Well, that's not going to do you any good as much as you're aiming for the greater good. You've got to have some self-preservation. Don't go down with the sinking ship, is what you're telling me.
There's a point of difference, though, isn't there? There's attacking somebody and proactively going out because he's doing this egregious thing, or when it's highlighted there, you can make a categorical statement that that is scummy, shithousery, and dishonest. Shouldn't be pimping additional truths. You can make that judgment without then having to go on some godforsaken crusade against Jaron Campanella. The difference, I think, that I'm hearing, Brian, is, Nath, you described this to me. That should be a quite easy thing to call out. It doesn't have to burn bridges, but it's a quite definitive stance that any reasonable person should take. And if Jaron's objectionable to us saying you shouldn't be pimping truth, son, let him raise that point, yeah? And then defend it. But it's not something to me you have to defend it. As in the same to Brian, it's not something you then have to go on a crusade to follow down the route.
So we have Nathan defending Jaron, and now Adam defending Nathan.
You obviously didn't hear what I said.
I did hear what you said. I did hear what you said.
I called out Nathan for not dealing with this situation, just like I just did. Once I sought clarity, I made a definitive statement. I called out Nathan for that, and I called out you for once that's been pointed out, that it's not then incumbent upon you to have to spend all your time and energy pointing that out to the general public. That was my summation.
I was being sarcastic.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to reiterate.
No, it was worth it. And that's why I wanted you to bring it up, Brian. Which I'm sure you figured out.
Yeah, but you don't want the situation happening where people mistrust you because you're trying to give Jaron the benefit of the doubt. Someone who has proven to be, he tries to destroy your livelihood. Why are you trying to help him? Never mind the community. They'll sort themselves out.
I totally get it. On the other hand, I do want to turn the other cheek. And, you know.
Maybe Nathan just likes to ask, what would Jesus do?
Oh, brother.
Think he'd buy that shit? Think he'd put down $400?
Right, should we do this book? I think we should. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.